In the DC world, I start with Ultraman. While this video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyright or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Martian Hunter. No, it's too hot. In the Jello base in National City, Earth-Naut, Blood Brother released two super beasts. For a moment, Bakim and Jello, who had regained their freedom, roared to the sky and began to destroy everywhere. Looking at the two super beasts that began to destroy, Blood Brother turned around and left, allowing the two super beasts to help him attract firepower. After destroying and searching all the way, Blood Brother finally stopped in front of a very heavy door. Looking at the door in front of him, Blood Brother raised his claws and swung them down. In an instant, a large number of sparks fell to the ground. However, this only added a few scratches to the door and did not cause any substantial damage. Jello considered violent attacks when building this door. Under normal circumstances, unless an electric drill is used for a few days, this door can even stop missiles. Gently brushing the door with his palm, Blood Brother knew that what he wanted was inside, but he did not have that ability now. In desperation, he had to ask his god for help. "My God, please help me." Blood Brother prayed silently in his heart while making way. For the plan of Earth 3, the Wise King will naturally take action. Let Jello open the space crack again, and the Wise King raised the dark trident given by the Emperor and fired a resolim beam at the opposite side. The original dark wave wrapped with black and red lightning gushed out from the tip of the dark trident, crossed the space crack, and hit the heavy alloy door that made the Blood Brothers helpless. Feeling the terrifying resolim beam passing by his eyes, the Blood Brothers were shocked. In order not to hurt the things inside, the Wise King did not use much output power. After breaking through the door, the Wise King put away the dark trident and signaled the Blood Brothers to speed up. "Move quickly." "Yes, my God." In response to the Wise King, the Blood Brothers entered at the fastest speed. The things protected by such a defensive door must not be simple things, and when the Blood Brothers walked into it, a strong green light shone on him. The source of the green light was a huge piece of kryptonite. Kryptonite is a good thing. Every member of a large organization on Earth often has a large piece of it. After all, the fighting power of the Boy Scout is too terrifying. Regardless of whether kryptonite is really useful or not, major forces will still stock up on it, at least so that people can sleep well. After launching a super high-temperature flame called Hellfire Bomb and destroying all the surrounding security facilities, Brother Blood stepped forward and took away the kryptonite as big as a baby's head. What happened tonight must be impossible to hide. Instead of taking only a small piece of kryptonite in a timid manner, it is better to be bold and take away the largest kryptonite directly. Holding the kryptonite in his palm, Brother Blood said devoutly, "My God, I have obtained what you have been looking forward to." For Brother Blood, the King of Cheyennes is his God and everything to him. I don't know if this is a retribution for this cult leader who has been doing evil for more than 700 years. Or is his real retribution not coming yet? In the underground base of the Blood Brothers, the Wise King who learned that the Blood Brothers had obtained the kryptonite asked Jello to open the portal and send the Blood Brothers back. In the Jello base, the Martian Manhunter, who was still using the identity of Hank Henshaw, was commanding the Jello agents to fight back against the super beasts. But even the weapons used by the Jello agents were just tickling for the two super beasts. After all, the super beasts had no sense of pain, and the Jello agents could not use weapons of mass destruction inside the base, so they were at a disadvantage. "Alex, you take all the agents to retreat, I will cover you." The Martian Manhunter who planned to stay behind ordered Alex. Hearing this, Alex, who had just emptied a magazine, turned his head to look at the Martian Manhunter and said in confusion, "But, no buts." The Martian Manhunter raised his voice a little, "I order you, Agent Alex, to quickly retreat with other agents as the director." "Okay, Director Henshaw." Alex agreed. Then, the Jello agents collectively evacuated the base, leaving only the Martian Manhunter to face Bakshim and Blauken alone. In fact, the Martian Manhunter's combat power is very strong. Even if the opponent is Superman, he can survive for a few minutes. He is already a high-level combat power. But the Martian Manhunter has pyromaphobia. Once he touches fire, he will fall into mental hallucinations. Although the flames can't hurt the Martian Manhunter in essence, the flames can still make the Martian Manhunter lose his combat ability. This is confirmed by Batman through experiments. Megan also has pyromaphobia, but the symptoms are much milder. Maybe the surviving Martians have some pyromaphobia. Kara, I hope you can get here soon, the Martian Manhunter silently said in his heart and changed back to his original posture. He also knew that the super beast restrained him, but now he was the only one who could fight. If he didn't go up, there would be no one. Then the Martian Manhunter used mind control on the two super beasts, but the modified brains of Bakshim and Blauken couldn't even make a plate of brains, let alone mental power. They would only passively accept and execute the orders issued by Abulu. Facing the two super beasts, the Martian Hunter's mental ability was of no use at all, and he was even troubled by the resentment entangled in Bakshim and Blauken. This was not Martian Hunter's fault. After all, his opponent had no spirit, so how could he use his mental ability? In desperation, Martian Hunter had to choose to materialize and then start close combat. With two bands, the power that could compete with Superman poured out to the two super beasts, knocking them away on the spot. With a loud boom, the two super beasts flew backwards immediately, stirring up a puff of smoke, which disturbed the vision to a certain extent. Seeing this, Martian Hunter's scarlet eyes condensed. He knew very well that he could not kill the two super beasts, so he immediately flew forward and wanted to take advantage of the situation to chase. But when Martian Hunter stacked into the smoke and wanted to hit Bakshim and Blauken head-on, the two spewing fire snakes were so dazzling. Pyrophobia, the Martian Hunter, who had the most severe phobia, saw this and his face changed drastically. The scene of his wife and children being burned to death seemed to be vivid in his mind. The flames brought him back to the most painful period. Ah! Martian Hunter wailed in pain. The flames could not hurt him, but they could make him fall into the most painful memories. After forcing the Martian Hunter back with the flames, Barabokan was going to take advantage of the victory and kill the Martian Hunter. Barabokan raised his claws, and the 5 sharp claws were surging with cold light. The weapon called attack beam was ready to go. With a light sound of swoosh, the attack beam shot towards the Martian Hunter. Boom, accompanied by a deafening roar, the attack beam containing powerful energy exploded, stirring up a puff of thick smoke. But when the thick smoke dissipated, Barabokan and Baking did not see the body of the Martian Hunter. Wherever the two super beasts looked, there were only 2 figures, one wearing armor and the other with golden hair fluttering. Chapter Wow Wow Diner. In the Dio base in National City, Earth Naught, the scene was already in a mess. Looking at the 2 people standing in front of Martian Manhunter and blocking his attack, Barabokan roared. Roar. Listening to Barabokan's roar, Kara remembered the scene of her dealing with them, and compared it with Barabokan's performance now, and wondered. Strange, why do I feel that they have become much stronger? For Kara's doubts, Zero, who was wearing Tiger armor, also felt deeply, but he was different from Kara, the Kryptonian superwoman, and Zero's observation perspective would be more special. Such a strong resentment, I don't know where the about people found such a big resentment. With the help of the silent bracelet, Zero saw that Barabokan and Baking were entangled with extremely strong resentment. It was the resentment composed of 100,000 resentful spirits. If a magician passed by, he would probably suspect that the devil from hell had descended on Earth. Knowing that Kara was not the best person to deal with the Ultra Beasts, Zero said to her, "Leave this to me. You take the Martian Manhunter and leave first. Find a lake and throw him in. Then freeze him with your freezing breath and let him cool down slowly." But Kara hesitated. She felt that it was a problem for Zero to stay to deal with the Ultra Beasts, so she said, "Let me deal with the Ultra Beasts. You must be very uncomfortable and confused now. The discomfort and confusion will be solved slowly after the fight." Zero chuckled and said to Kara while posing towards the 2 Ultra Beasts, "And I know Ultra Beasts better than you, don't I? Then you must be careful. Call me if you can't hold on." Kara said to Zero with concern at last, and then took the Martian Manhunter and left the Dio base. With Kara's departure, Zero and the 2 Ultra Beasts were left in the Dio base, which was in a mess, with flames burning in many places, and things falling from the ceiling from time to time. The armor's energy output strength increased step by step. With Zero's current energy, even the Tiger armor shows the energy overflow phenomenon that had appeared on the first generation armor. After all, Zero was strengthened 10 times by the Chaos virus, and the energy core of the Tiger armor was only upgraded to version 1.4 after Zero obtained the technology of the Max Power engine. At present, only the newly manufactured Dyna armor can carry Zero's power, because the energy core of the Dyna armor is version 1.7, which is the best energy core at present. However, the armor cannot bear all of Zero's power and energy overflows. In the eyes of Yabru, who is watching the battle from a distance, it is a different scene. Through the eyes of Blauken and Baking, Yabru could monitor the battle situation in real time. When he saw this scene, he sneered. Can't even control his own power. He lost his composure to this extent. Is he really the Emperor's isotope? You'd better not underestimate him, Yabru. The King of Wise Knowledge, who had just received the kryptonite from the Blood Brothers, turned around and said, he killed the 5 Emperors. In terms of individual combat power, can you compare with the 5 Emperors? You'd better not underestimate the Emperor's isotope, no matter how terrible he is now. Don't do it. These words touched Yabru's heart. It is true that he can produce super beasts in batches. Yabru thinks that he is not weak in single combat, and he even has a lot of disgusting abilities. But to fight the 5 Emperors head-on? Yabru feels that he can't do it for the time being. Your Majesty, what you said is very true. Yabru smiled flatteringly, and then said, according to the order of the Evil Lord, I can also get half of the kryptonite to create new Ultra Beasts, right? The Evil Lord did say so to me. Take it. This is your kryptonite. The Wise Lord thought for a while, and then divided the kryptonite in his hand into 2 parts. He gave half to Yabru to create new Ultra Beasts, and the other part, he planned to give to the Evil Lord to carry out the next step of the plan. Taking the kryptonite from the Wise Lord, Yabru smiled and said, thank you, Your Majesty, I will control Bakshim and Blauken to deal with the enemy first. Don't underestimate the enemy. The Wise Lord reminded him at the end. Although the Wise Lord is not good at thinking and planning, he has a strong intuition, which comes from the intuition of fighting. Understood, Your Majesty. Finally, after responding to the Wise Lord, Yabru focused on controlling the Ultra Beasts to deal with Zero. In the Dio base, Zero, wearing Tiger armor, was passing through the terrifying barrage of bullets formed by the 2 super beasts. Blue light bullets, high heat shooting, missile shooting, attack beams, combined missiles, full bullet shooting, various long-range attacks formed an impenetrable barrage, and the density of the rain of bullets was so high that the army of the Lighthouse country would be ashamed of it. Moreover, the Dio base is a closed space, and the power of bomb-type weapons in a closed space is even more significant. It is because Zero was present that he was able to shuttle through the rain of bullets without suffering any damage. This is a little worse than the Tigot projection, which does not have to worry about energy consumption. Zero, who usually loves to be the king of rolls, showed a little of his due strength. When he passed through the rain of bullets and was about to come to Bakim and Blauken, he crossed his wrists and then shot a large number of blue light bullets forward to contain the 2 super beasts. This move is Ultraman Tiger's bright shooting, with extremely short pre-swing and post-swing, which is the best choice for containing the enemy. Crackle. The 2 beasts were hit by the bright shot and burst into a lot of sparks, and they took a few steps back. Realizing that this was a good opportunity, Zero immediately swung his arms vigorously, and when he turned from the outside to the inside, he gathered a lot of Zephyrian energy and transferred it to his fists. Zero's fists were covered with white Zephyrian energy, and then he swung them forward. The next moment, 88 white meteors flew towards the 2 beasts, and during the flight, each white meteor split into 88 more white meteors. This huge number of white meteors fell towards the 2 beasts like a meteor shower, and each meteor could leave a hole on the surface of the beasts, and the power of this move was more than that. Bang 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 bang, the sound of explosions continued for a while. This move was created by Zero combining the meteor blast fist and the compound explosion. Composite explosion, this move is improved by Zero from shining to shining explosion. You should know that the original version is a powerful skill that can only be used in an idealistic state. It consumes too much energy to use this move on weekdays, so Zero improved it. After repelling the 2 super beasts, Zero did not take it lightly. When he was about to use Ultra Kit combined with Composite Destruction to continue attacking, the familiar interference wave forced Zero to retreat. Roar. Roar. The 2 super beasts with sphere characteristics on their bodies roared after the interference wave disappeared, and in the direction of their roars, Zero had already changed into Dyna Armor to deal with this situation. After changing into Dyna Armor, which is similar in shape to Tiger Armor but more dynamic overall, Zero couldn't help but hum twice in a voice that only he could hear. Wow Dyna, what is justice Dyna tips? Tomorrow's chapter can be watched with Dyna's theme song EOA. Zinglan wall hanging debut in the Dio base in National City, Earth Naught. Because of the sphere fluctuations emitted by Bakshim and Blauken, Zero had to change into the Dyna Armor. Considering that the 5 emperors actually belonged to Earth 3 with the above people, Zero guessed that they were probably members of the same force, so there was a possibility that their technologies were interoperable, so Bakshim and Blauken could also use Sphere to strengthen themselves. After using the power of Sphere, Bakshim and Blauken also had more Sphere features, especially their claws, which looked more powerful and more suitable for close combat. Is the close combat ability also enhanced? Looking at the scene in front of him, Zero, who was wearing the Dyna armor, couldn't help but guess. The main body of the Dyna armor is composed of red and blue, and the color is brighter than the Tigra armor. There is also golden armor on the chest, but the energy core is larger in size, and the energy crystal on the helmet is quite prominent, and the size is also larger than the energy crystals at the Tigra armor, the evil Tigra armor, and the Nia's armor. In terms of combat style, the Tigra armor focuses on versatility and can switch forms freely. However, the Dyna armor cannot switch forms freely and can only switch forms once every 24 hours, but at the cost of this, it has 2 forms that are extremely excellent in their own aspects, Miracle type and Strong type. The output of the Strong type is even more terrible than that of the Tigra armor Power type, while the Dyna armor Miracle type has a powerful superpower amplification effect, which can help Zero use many powerful superpowers. Roar. Bakshim roared first, and then ran towards Zero at a very fast speed. And Bakshim released missiles and light bullets behind Bakshim to cover his teammates. In this way, the 2 super beasts cooperated to attack Zero. Facing the coordinated attack of the 2 super beasts, Zero's eyes swept across the field, and then turned into a sharp blade that tore through the darkness and rushed forward. The Dyna armor with the addition of the Gundam system has the same characteristics as Ultraman Dyna himself, strong explosive power. In terms of explosive power, the Dyna armor is very powerful, and when wearing the Dyna armor, Zero doesn't have to care so much, just rush. Bang! The next moment, Zero's fists collided with Bakshim's claws, and the collision between the 2 produced a violent impact, causing the surrounding flames to be weakened by the violent wind pressure. Roar. Bakshim roared again. It was powerful because of the addition of sphere components during the transformation process. It was seen that the whole body was covered with bluish-white electric light, and the metal ground under its feet began to crack because it could not withstand the power. Crack, crack, crack! The metal ground of the Jello base kept making cracking sounds, and the ground under Zero's feet began to crack. But Zero, wearing the Dyna armor, was also a peerless, reckless man at this moment. He saw that he exerted force with both arms, and the Dyna armor was fully powered, and the majestic power poured towards Bakshim like a waterfall. Yeah. Zero's battle cry became low and hoarse after passing through the helmet. Crack! Another breaking sound, but this time the source of the breaking sound was Bakshim's arms. What? Even Bakshim, who was strengthened by 100,000 grudges and the sphere, is not as strong as this guy. Yabru, who was in the underground base of the Blood Brotherhood cult, was shocked when he saw this scene. The corners of his eyes and mouth twitched wildly, and he said after a while, "This guy's armor must be so abnormal. Ultra armor actually only plays a supporting role. If you want to use the armor to exert a strong force, Jello must be strong enough to do it." Those who think that Jello is so powerful because of the armor will definitely suffer in the future. Looking back at the Jello base, after shattering Bakshim's arms, Jello took the opportunity to readjust his strength, and reached out with both hands to grab Bakshim's upper arm before Bakshim used the missile weapon. After grabbing Bakshim's upper arm, Jello's whole body strength sank, and immediately lifted Bakshim above his head, turned it twice, and threw it towards Bakshim. When Blauken and Bakshim were fighting, Bakshim didn't dare to fire his weapon for fear of hurting friendly forces. When Blauken was lifted up by Jello and thrown towards him, Bakshim realized that he had just made a mistake. Seeing Blauken flying towards him, Bakshim immediately opened a space crack to teleport himself away. Boom! With a loud bang, Blauken fell to the ground, raising a cloud of dust. Seeing Blauken disappear, Jello, who was uneasy, immediately jumped on the spot. 1/1000th of a microsecond later, countless missiles flew under Jello, and there was a tendency to catch up with Jello. It was obvious that it was a missile launched by Bakshim. In order to block the missile, Jello quickly condensed energy into his armor, and then swung it out quickly. 2 crescent-shaped blue-white light blades broke through the air and collided with Bakshim's missile. Boom! 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 There was another series of explosions at the Jello base. After intercepting Bakshim's missile, Jello quickly seized the opportunity to focus his telekinesis on the energy crystal on his head. The next moment, a large number of light particles were released from the energy crystal to wrap around Jello. Then he put his arms in front of his chest, and the energy core also released a large number of light particles in conjunction with the energy crystal. In the extremely high concentration of light particles, the Dino armor appeared like a crystal texture. Yeah. With Jello's light shout, his arms suddenly spread out, and the surrounding light particles quickly disappeared. Another posture of the Dino armor also appeared in the eyes of Bakim and Jello Kent, who had just climbed up. At this time, the Dino armor was mainly blue and white, with simple lines. Even the golden armor on the chest disappeared. The whole set of armor also looked much slimmer, with 4 blue hems on the waist, which looked quite elegant. This is the Dino armor miracle type. After switching the armor form to miracle type, Jello suddenly felt that his telekinesis seemed to be much stronger, as if everything in the world was in his hands. Just thinking about it, Jello saw Kara, who froze the Martian hunter several kilometers away. Thinking again, he saw Shao Hectus, who was howling at the sky in the apartment. This is part of the power of the Dino armor miracle type. Feeling the ability far beyond the usual, Jello looked at the 2 super beasts respectively, and then said, "Next, it's my highlight time." The 2 super beasts didn't care about these. The weapons were ready, and the unicorn missile and the super high temperature cutting flew towards Jello. But Jello stood there without dodging, and even held his hands in front of his chest. When the unicorn missile and the super high temperature cutting were only 3 centimeters away from Jello, he disappeared. Zinjiro. The blue all-hanging form is really cool to use in the Dio base in National City, Earth Naught. Zero disappeared in front of the 2 beasts at the critical moment. The 2 beasts quickly realized what this ability was. Teleport. Only teleportation can dodge attacks in such an emergency. Realizing this, Bakshim and Blaukan immediately alerted their surroundings and began to look for Zero. But for Zero, Bakshim and Blaukan's movements were still too slow. 2 Zeros appeared behind Bakshim and Blaukan at the same time, and attacked the 2 beasts with the so-called Miracle Beam Cut. Unlike ordinary beam cutting, Miracle Beam Cut also comes with high-intensity voltage, which makes the 2 beasts slow down. After restraining the 2 beasts, the second Zero quickly disappeared into the air, leaving only Zero's body, which wrapped the energy all over his body and rolled into a ball and began to rotate at high speed. At this time, looking at Zero from a distance, he looked like a blue ball of light. The name of this move is called Miracle Roll, which is one of the signature skills of Ultraman Dino's Miracle type. After turning himself into a ball of light, Zero rushed towards the 2 super beasts that were still paralyzed. Bang 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 bang, a blue ball of light bumped back and forth between the 2 super beasts, using each other as a springboard, using force to leverage force, and the speed and impact force continued to increase. It was not until Baroking fell down that Zero had no place to leverage force, so he finally hit Bakshim once and fell far away. After landing steadily on the ground, Zero opened his arms, stood up slowly and gracefully, and raised his hands above his head, condensing energy to create a mirror of light above his head. The next second, the flames burning inside the Delio base all rushed towards the mirror of light, and finally formed a high heat ray under Zero's energy enhancement. Swoosh! The high temperature ray left a thin sound and then landed on Bakim's head, piercing through Bakim's head on the spot. But even if the super beast was pierced through the head, it would not die immediately. And Blaukan stood up again, and the 2 super beasts stood together again, ready to use all their weapons on Jello. Looking at the 2 super beasts who were about to fire all their weapons, Jello did not stop them, but adjusted his posture, as calm as a western sharpshooter who could kill many bandits in an instant. Roar! Roar! The 2 super beasts each let out the last roar of this battle, and all the launch ports opened. Countless missiles and light bullets poured out of the black launch ports, attacking Jello like a torrential rain and gusts of wind. The missiles and light bullets in front of him were much more terrible than the first time Jello dealt with them. Even if they were intercepted by light blades, a chain explosion would inevitably occur. The power of the chain explosion was enough to engulf Jello in endless darkness. If they were released outside, I'm afraid that half of the city would be reduced to ruins in an instant. Zero just smiled lightly, then raised his right hand and created a golden ultra barrier in front of him, and then used telekinesis to deliberately pull all the light bullets and missiles to the ultra barrier. Is Zero confident that this golden ultra barrier can block this attack that can destroy half of the city? The answer is, it can. When the missiles fell on the ultra barrier, all the energy in them was absorbed by Zero, turning into hollow iron rods that fell to the ground, and the light bullets completely disappeared. Sizzle, sizzle, several lightning bolts flashed across the right arm of Dino Armor Miracle type. This was because Zero used the armor to absorb some of the energy, and the armor could not fully withstand it. What kind of superpower is this? Yabulu said in disbelief. He didn't understand why Zero could absorb energy. The Heavenly King Shianzi said slowly, it should be a devouring ability similar to one of the Emperor's powers. Yabulu, you are surprised too early. Looking back at the Delio base, Jello has gathered all the energy in the palm of his right hand, and while using his powerful telekinesis to control Bakshim and Blauken, he pushed his right hand forward. The shockwave composed of all the energy at the Dyna armor and the energy at the two super beasts' strongest barrage attack flew towards the two super beasts. The energy contained in it made Yabru, who was observing the battle, terrified. If he experienced it personally, he felt that he would definitely be blown up. No, I have to create a stronger super beast to deal with this guy. Even the Decadent period has this kind of power. What a terrible guy. Yabru, who was secretly frightened, lost his remote vision after this thought came up, because Bakshim and Blauken had been blown up. However, Bakshim and Blauken can be recreated, and Yabru is not distressed, and he has stronger super beasts. Lunaticus, don't let me down. After saying this in a tiny voice that only he could hear, Yabru pretended to be gloomy and left the underground base of the Blood Brotherhood. In the Delio base, after using the Liporm light wave attack version Type 0 to blow up the two super beasts, Zero also retracted his helmet to reveal his true face. In the previous battle, all the surveillance in the Delio base had been damaged, so Zero didn't have to worry about exposing his identity. Anyway, there was no one here now, so Zero was happy alone. It's so cool. When Zero thought of the fighting method where he didn't have to touch the enemy with his hands throughout the whole process, he felt very happy. Moreover, although the armor consumed a lot, Zero himself consumed very little. Even if he changed into the Tiger armor, he would have no problem fighting with other enemies. Quickly restraining his joy, Zero set his sights on the shells and debris left by Bakshim and Blauken. For these things, Zero would not keep them. The humans in the Ultraman universe were able to develop weapons such as the D4A using the flying sword on the head of the assassin Ultra Beast Barakbak. The ability of the humans in the DC universe to commit suicide is definitely not inferior to that of the humans in the Ultraman universe. So, Zero planned to clean up the battlefield before leaving. After cleaning up all the debris that might contain the energy at the About people, Zero put on the Dyna armor and helmet, which had slightly recovered some energy, and flew out. In addition to superpowers, the Dyna armored miracle type is also first class in terms of speed. It didn't take long for Zero to find a frozen lake. With the help of supervision, Zero saw the Martian hunter trapped in it. The flames on his body had also gone out, and the psychological problems had to be solved by himself. At this time, Kara also noticed that Zero had found her, so she flew forward and looked at Zero, who was still unharmed in blue and white armor, and asked, Zero, did you solve those two Ultra Beasts? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novel, as there you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Of Kryptonite is gone. Earth North National City. Beside a lake outside the city, Jello looked at Kara, who flew to him and replied, it's been solved. This armor is very powerful. He casually attributed the reason for his victory to the power of the armor to perfunctorily appease Kara. Is that so? I'm glad you're okay. Seeing that Jello was not seriously injured, Kara was also relieved, and then asked, oh, by the way, Jello, why do you think those two super beasts attacked Dio? This is the passive skill of the Superman family. Although I have a super brain, I don't use it. Jello used to like to use it, but now there is no other external brain, so this burden fell on Jello. The About people and the Coralloid people must have done this because Dio has something they want, and it is something that ordinary forces cannot get. But what exactly is in the Dio base that attracts the people of Earth 3, Jello really doesn't know, so he can only wait for the Martian hunter to temporarily overcome his fear of fire and slowly ask. Maybe it's for something precious. Zero shook his head and guessed, I still think it's better to wait until Martian Manhunter recovers before asking him. Okay, then let's go down and wait. Kara had no choice. After all, Dio is an agent organization, and it's impossible to tell them everything. Now they can only wait for Martian Manhunter to wake up. The two helplessly could only land on the ground and sit next to the frozen lake, quietly waiting for Martian Manhunter to wake up. Half an hour later, Zero, who was still wearing the Miracle Dyna armor, felt a throbbing under the frozen lake. Realizing that Martian Manhunter had overcome his phobia of fire and was returning to the ground, Zero greeted Kura by the way. "He's awake, cousin." As Zero's voice fell, Martian Manhunter also flew out of the ice. With the help of the Martian's ability to virtualize, the thick ice surface was like air in the eyes of Martian Manhunter. Without causing any impact, he could pass through the ice layer and return to the ground. Slowly landing in front of the two, Martian Manhunter said sincerely, "Thank you two for this time. It's what we should do," Kura said with a smile. Zero was in no mood for small talk. He got straight to the point and asked, "Can I know the details of this incident?" "Sure." Knowing Zero's true situation, Martian Manhunter nodded and told him what he knew. Not long ago, the DEO security system discovered that the base was invaded. The invaders released those two monsters in a very short time, and then went to the room where the kryptonite was stored while I was leading the DEO agents to fight back. I think the defense of that room can't withstand the other party. Supergirl, I think you'd better." After hearing that the kryptonite was stolen, Kura widened her eyes and said, "What? The kryptonite was stolen? Natural?" Zero glanced at Martian Manhunter and asked. In his words, Martian Manhunter only mentioned the thief, not the specific image, but Zero guessed that it must be one of the Abau or Koroloid people. If Martian Manhunter faced the Abau, it would be okay. As a top sidekick, he still had room to fight back, but the Koroloid people could breathe fire, and Martian Manhunter would be killed if he went up. Facing Jello's question, Martian Manhunter nodded, and then replied, "The kryptonite landed on Earth with Supergirl's spaceship, and was later recovered by the DEO and protected with the most advanced defensive measures. Kryptonite can cause harm to Kryptonians, which is something that many major forces know. But it should be noted that not just any stone on Krypton can harm Kryptonians. Only the fragments of kryptonite produced when Krypton explodes have the conditions to harm Kryptonians. Only in that special environment can qualified kryptonite be produced. Therefore, the number of natural kryptonites is extremely rare. The natural kryptonites that can fall on Earth are all in the hands of Lex Luthor and Batman. Even Jello has only one natural kryptonite, and the rest are artificial kryptonites. Compared with natural kryptonite, artificial kryptonite is not as effective as natural kryptonite in causing Kryptonian cell decay. What do those guys want kryptonite for?" Jello muttered with a headache. Zero knew that the Kryptonians on Earth 3 became stronger by eating kryptonite, but the guy with the same name as himself was not very popular. Would the Abau people and the Koroloid people who held the battle instrument be in the same camp as that guy? If they were in the same camp, it could only be that the Emperor suppressed the other party with absolute force and then recruited them to his side. His, being able to suppress the Superman isotope, what a terrifying power. The more Zero thought about this matter, the more he felt that this Emperor was very likely to be the enemy of his isotope. The Superman, who was also called Ultraman, was also very powerful as a Superman isotope, and his strength was not much weaker than that of Zero. If he used the characteristics of long-term consumption of kryptonite, he could even beat Superman in a first encounter. With this in mind, Zero planned to do more intensive training after returning. All the Heisei Ultraman seniors would come together, and the energy intensity would have to be higher than it is now. Only by becoming stronger can he be able to deal with the crisis. "Supergirl, you have to be careful recently. I will go and tell Superman in person," Martian Manhunter said apologetically. DEO is also under his jurisdiction. Now Clark and Kura are in crisis because of Doe's failure to fulfill its responsibilities. Martian Manhunter is also sorry. However, the Kryptonians of the L family are all generous. Kura said that it was no big deal. "It's okay. I'll just carry the nanosuit with me at all times." The nanosuit is a suit developed and designed by Superman when he first debuted to prevent kryptonite weapons. After using it, an invisible membrane will appear on Superman's body surface, blocking the kryptonite radiation that is enough to cause Kryptonian cell decay. Kura also has this nanosuit in case of emergency. "Then I'll leave first. Come to me if you have anything." After casually greeting Kura and Martian Manhunter, Zero asked Oyo to send him back to the Ultralight. The two super beasts were solved, but the Abau and Koroloid people have not been eradicated yet. Zero plans to use Oyo's computing power to find out the reason behind this matter. After Zero left, Martian Manhunter also left, saying he was going back to bring back DEO agents to rebuild the base, leaving Kura alone. Kura, feeling somewhat lonely, flew up into the sky, aimlessly flying over National City at night. Just as she was about to fly back to her apartment, she spotted a figure, as if it was destined. Lena Luthor. What is she doing sitting on the rooftop? Chapter 10. Blood Brothers at Gunpoint. Earth North National City. On the night of April 26, Kara was flying over the city. The air currents made her red cape fluttering behind her. Her blonde hair was a little messy, but this could not stop Kara's supervision. In this environment, Kara saw Lena sitting on the rooftop among the lights of thousands of houses. Kara, who was simple-minded, immediately thought that Lena was frustrated because of the failure of the press conference in the daytime and was about to jump off the building to commit suicide. No, I have to save her. Seeing this, Kara quickly dived down and landed on the rooftop at a very fast speed, and persuaded Lena, who was just calmly thinking about the future development of the company. You must be calm and don't be impulsive. Can you tell me what happened recently? ? Noticing that Kara fell behind her, Lena turned the smart wheelchair and looked at Kara with a puzzled face. Supergirl, do you think I want to commit suicide? Wait, I'm just sitting here thinking. For a moment, Lena didn't know whether to laugh or what to do. She was just blowing the wind, but she was considered to be committing suicide. What? Hearing this, Kara immediately realized that she had misunderstood. Her sweet face suddenly turned red, and her slender fingers unconsciously clenched. With a slightly embarrassed smile on her face, she immediately said embarrassedly, "Sorry, I thought you were going to commit suicide. I'll leave now." Then take care. Then, Lena saw Kara, who was full of shame, flying into the sky. After coming to her senses, Lena touched her chin with her index finger and said with interest, "Supergirl. Interesting, are she and Superman of the same race?" At this time, Lena remembered her bald brother's obsession with surpassing Superman, and a little smile appeared on her face. She said softly in a voice that only she could hear, "Is this the Kryptonian that Lex mentioned? It's really a simple race. I don't know if Zero knows her." If he does, at the same time, inside the ultralight, Zero and Oa were eliminating suspects. Based on Jello's understanding of the Karilloids, the cult group might be the opponent's power, and it should be possible to obtain intelligence from the cult level. This is a good idea, but the problem is that there are too many cult groups in the Lighthouse country, and some cults can even be registered openly, which makes Jello's investigation difficult. According to Jello and Oa's incomplete statistics for a period of time, there are at least 200 cult organizations in the Lighthouse country. This is the number that can be found on the internet. If those cults that are not registered are added, the final number will probably be even more terrifying. Looking at the cult information that can fill several large-capacity hard drives, Jello's eyes twitched. After thinking for a while, he said to Oya, "Exclude the cult groups that are smaller in scale, Eastern Standard Time established a short time ago, and have less influence, and give priority to those cult groups with a longer history." Based on Jello's own understanding of that Karilloid's race and his understanding of Earth 3, this Karilloid will most likely choose a cult group as a prelude to make it smoother for the main group to come to Earth North. As for whether this cult group will cause trouble when the Justice League fights against the forces of Earth 3, or whether it has other purposes, Zero is not sure. However, Zero does not rule out the possibility that the other party is not a cult. After all, the holder of the concept fragment is not equal to the original body represented by the concept fragment. After investigation, Zero selected several cult groups that have been established for more than 100 years and have tens of thousands of believers. The Temple, the Gate to the Holy Nation, some information about cult groups that are well known worldwide appeared in front of Zero until he saw a slightly familiar name, Blood Brother, or Blood Brother. This name is not unfamiliar to Zero. If it follows the normal timeline, the Blood Brother will target the Titans in the future and become the enemy of the Titans. If other cults generally seek money, then the Blood Brothers are planning to become gods. In the original time, after the fourth generation Robin Darkme and Wayne joined the Titans, the Blood Brothers implemented a capture plan on the Titans, trying to obtain the superpowers of the Titan members and take the opportunity to rule the world. It was a very stupid plan. Let's not talk about whether the Titans were strong enough to accomplish this. If they were caught by Jello, the Blood Brothers would be in trouble. Because, on July 17, 1957, 13 13-year-old boys disappeared. The local police found their bodies 13 days later. According to the investigation, the clues pointed to the Blood Brothers cult, but before the in-depth investigation, the important clues stored in the police station were destroyed. On November 13, 1963, 7 7-year-old girls disappeared. 7 days later, the bodies of the 7 girls were found with their internal organs eviscerated. On July 8, 1974, 8 8-year-old boys. on December 23, 1979, 9, on November 27, 1986, 17, a total of 89 cases, each of which involved several lives, and they were all children. They all died at the age when they should have been enjoying happiness. And this is what Jello can find out using the internet. Jello can't find out about the crimes committed by the Blood Brothers cult before the internet was established. Crack, crack. Jello suddenly had a shattering sound around him. This sound was not for no reason, but because of Jello himself. Even Jello himself didn't realize that he had unconsciously released a part of his power because of his anger. It was this part of his power that caused the surrounding objects to show signs of breaking. Jello, Jello, Jello. It was only after Oi's continuous calls that Jello regained consciousness. But even so, Oi felt that Jello was full of danger now. Oi asked gently, "Your blood pressure, pulse, and brainwaves just now are all abnormal. Do you need me to do a full body check for you?" "No." Jello replied coldly. According to his understanding of the Blood Brothers, this group of guys possessed a certain degree of mysterious power, and when facing ordinary people, it was a dimensionality reduction attack. Parents who are grief-stricken by the death of their children spontaneously set up a website to seek help on the internet. To this day, the number of registered users on this website is still increasing. After writing down the information of all members on this website, Jello turned to the official website of the Blood Brothers. Yes, this cult even has an official website. The first item on the website reads that Great Blood Brothers will be in National City on April 27th. Jello no longer needs to read the following information, and his red eyes seem to burst with light. "Since you have all bumped into me, even if you have nothing to do with Earth 3, I will eliminate you." Chapter Angel Descends. Earth North National City Time. April 27, 2015 at noon, when many citizens were about to go home and rest for a while, a group of fanatics in white robes appeared on many streets shouting slogans. The gods will bring down their wrath to punish the sinners who insist on not respecting him. Humans, turn back. Only by offering piety to the great god Kyrielod can you have a glimmer of hope. The leading fanatic said words that were difficult for others to understand, and many pedestrians took detours. No one likes to hear such words in broad daylight, and some pedestrians with other religious beliefs will show them disgusted expressions. These white-robed people are believers of the Blood Brothers cult. After accumulating for 700 years, the Blood Brothers will always deceive some people who believe in him and are even willing to sacrifice everything. This leading white-robed person is even more so. He is even the patriarch arranged by the Blood Brothers in National City. There are only 10 people in the entire Lighthouse country who can get such trust from the Blood Brothers. Therefore, for the sake of the illusory god, the white-robed man led a group of believers to carry out the order from the Blood Brothers, that is, to hold a parade in the city of Niceno. Even though the attitude of the pedestrians around them was mostly contemptuous or even repulsive, the white-robed man did not care, because he knew that these pagans would be slapped in the face soon. Pagans. When the miracle comes to the world, I believe you'll turn back, but before that, you'll still be stupid. The white-robed man said mysteriously, and behind him was a group of cultists wriggling. After this group of cultists went around most of the city, they knelt down collectively at a pre-arranged place and prayed to the sky. God, please send down a miracle. Let the world know how great you are. God, please send down a miracle. Let the world know how great you are. God, please send down a miracle. Let the world know how great you are. The prayers of dozens of cultists were very uniform, and it sounded like they had been rehearsed countless times. The passers-by just glanced at them and then walked away quickly. However, a few citizens who wanted to watch the fun would stop and watch, then take out their phones to check the time, wondering how long these idiots could shout. These dozens of cultists prayed for a full 66 minutes and 6 seconds. Even when the citizens who were watching the fun wanted to leave, a shadow suddenly appeared in the sky. In an instant, the whole sky became clear and cloudless, and in the middle of the sky, a snow-white shadow was floating in the air. He had a kind face, a silver-white robe on his body, and 12 pairs of snow-white wings behind him, just like the angel in the oil painting who really came to the world. When the white-robed man really saw the angel appear, he was also extremely shocked. He immediately led a group of believers to call out, "My God's messenger, please save us. My God's messenger, please save us. My God's messenger, please save us." This scene was not only witnessed by the believers of the Blood Brothers cult, but also many citizens were curious. However, in this era dominated by science, not many people believed that this was an angel. Is this another holographic projection made by a big company? It's quite real, but I don't know if it can be changed to another shape. This thought occupied the majority. In addition, some media also noticed this wonder soon after, and many journalists began to report this scene in real time. However, there are many wonders in the DC universe. Citizens who usually pay more attention to the metropolitan news media said that they saw much more powerful than this angel. About half an hour later, the angel made a sound. Believers of our God, you don't have to worry. God will give you what he promised. When the judgment comes, you will be fine. Those who don't believe in God will be blocked from the gate of the kingdom of God. Listening to the prophecy from the angel, the Blood Brothers cult believers, led by the white-robed man, bowed their heads and said confidently, "We sinners will remember the prophecy and prepare for the coming of the kingdom of God. We sinners will remember the prophecy and prepare for the coming of the kingdom of God. We sinners will remember the prophecy and prepare for the coming of the kingdom of God." Then, the angel dissipated in the sky, and the cultists also prayed. Thanks to the development of the internet, the angel's appearance incident quickly went viral on YouTube, and the video hits rose to the top of the list within an hour. In the ultralight, Jello, who had recently studied why gay armor and Agiru armor could not meet the expected requirements, also saw this video. An old-fashioned method, but it works. Zero commented while searching for relevant information on the internet, and focused on looking for relevant comments with the IP address of National City. In a small or medium-sized forum, Zero saw such a statement. Zed. God is real. I will sacrifice my stupid child to atone for my sins. Even among the huge number of comments on the internet, this one is extremely outrageous. The thoughts of cultists cannot be viewed with ordinary people's thinking. This comment is very likely not just nonsense. This madman is likely to sacrifice his child to the Corelloids. After thinking for a few seconds, Zero said to Oya, "Oya, search for similar comments on the entire internet, sort them out and make them into data, and package the data outside National City and send it to the Justice League." Okay. While Oya was sorting out the data, Zero looked at the armor cabin in the distance. The cabin was filled with Dyna armor, and its form had not yet changed from Miracle type to Shining type because the 24-hour limit had not yet expired. On the body of the Miracle Dyna armor, changes are quietly taking place. The distribution of the armor has become more reasonable, and 3 blue stripes have appeared on the lower left side of the chest armor. This is not because Zero modified the Miracle Dyna armor, but the evolution ability of the Gundam system is gradually reflected in the armor. The Tiger armor, which is also equipped with the Gundam system, is now placed in the armor cabin, but the performance of the Tiger armor is internal, and the external changes are not significant. Moreover, in just one night, the Miracle Dyna armor evolved to version 3.0, that is to say, in one night, the Miracle Dyna armor was modified 3 times on its own. Not long after, Oya sorted out all the information and sent it to the Justice League, and Zero was preparing to investigate the XAD who made the outrageous statement when he received a text message from Lina. "Are you free? Come to the company. I have something to tell you." Chapter Sacrifice, Earth Naught, National City, M78 Technology Co. Limited. After receiving Lina's text message, Jello rushed to the company as fast as he could. All the way to the Shah's office, Jello struggled on the marble floor, then walked to the door of the office and knocked twice. "Knock knock, come in, you're just in time." After Lina's slightly tired voice sounded from inside the door, Jello pushed open the door, turned back to lock the door, and walked to the desk and asked Lina, who looked tired, "What's wrong?" "The company has encountered problems again. It's almost the same, you can see it from this." Lina shook her head tiredly, and turned the computer screen in front of her to Jello with some weakness, and then explained. "It was that group of cultists. A few hours ago, they actually made a miracle. Some crazy people actually came to our company's website to post some strange remarks. Look. Because M78 Technology Co. Limited was attacked by Ultra Beasts and Corelloids when it held a press conference not long ago, some believers and netizens who were just looking for fun ran to the official website of M78 Technology Co. Limited to make trouble. ... Before Jello could speak, Lina said, "It's not just that. The cybersecurity department has just intercepted a large number of network attacks, which is comparable to the number of attacks in the past 3 or 4 months. I initially suspected that there were cultists who carried out Trojan attacks, but among these network attacks, I found a message that you should be interested in." "Would I be interested?" Jello asked in confusion. "You'll understand when you see this." As she spoke, Lina clicked on a file. "Help. I'm at 3789 Lake Valley Street, National City. Please help me, call 911. I need help. This is a very logical letter for help, and the person asking for help should be very calm. This email was mixed up in a bunch of viruses. If it weren't for the cybersecurity department's careful investigation, this email would still be difficult to find. Lina explained to Jello how she found this letter for help. Listening to Lina's words, Jello felt that the person asking for help was being monitored by someone, otherwise he wouldn't do this. Lina, I have to excuse myself for a moment, Jello said with a serious look in his eyes. He thought it was unlikely that this was a joke, so he had to go. Be careful. After saying this to Jello casually, Lina watched Jello disappear on the spot. The matter was urgent, and Jello had no time to drive. He asked Oyo to teleport him back to the ultralight, and then used the ultralight as a relay station to teleport to Lake Valley Street. Lake Valley Street is one of the residential areas in National City. Because of the low housing prices, residents with average incomes would choose this place. Inside No. 3789, a little boy was holding his baby sister. His eyes were already wet with tears, and his slender legs were trembling, but he still looked at the three monsters in front of him with great determination and said loudly, "I won't hand my sister over to you." The woman with a face similar to the little boy and who looked like his mother, but with eyes like orange crystals, said with a sly smile, "Little brother, what you say doesn't count. What the adults say counts." "Impossible," the little boy said firmly. The little sister in his arms seemed to be frightened by this scene and began to cry. The three weirdos with eyes like orange crystals laughed again at this scene. The male weirdo said, "Hand her over to us quickly. She is the sacrifice appointed by the bishop. You can't stop this." "Impossible." The little boy gritted his teeth and said, even though he was weak, he would protect his sister until the last moment. "Then kill you too, you shameless kid," the third weirdo said viciously. He clenched his 5 fingers on his right hand into a fist and was about to swing at the little boy. The fist blew up a whirring wind, and the little boy closed his eyes in fear. At this moment, a strong light suddenly appeared in the house, and even the tightly drawn curtains could not block the terrifying light. The three evil monsters screamed out under this holy light, and their eyes rolled. When the strong light faded, the little boy saw a steel body. In his eyes, the figure was as tall as a god. No, what is a god compared to him? He really responded to his existence. "Ultraman. I knew you would come." The little boy wiped his tears, not wanting to embarrass himself in front of his idol. Zero, wearing a composite-to-go armor, looked back at the boy and praised, "You did a good job. I will take you and your sister away first." As for them, even without supervision, Zero could feel an evil aura from the three people. They were most likely not human, and it would only take a few clicks for him to defeat them. But Zero felt that beating up a monster in front of a child might leave a shadow in the child's heart. He was used to treating children as the future of mankind and didn't want to do that. "Ultraman? Do you think we are afraid of you?" the third monster suddenly said arrogantly. Ah. They didn't dare to say a word and stood in place. This is the gap between them and Zero. As long as Zero got angry, they didn't even dare to have the desire to fight. After controlling the three monsters, Zero took the little boy and his sister to a safe place. When they arrived at the safe place, the little boy seemed to be unable to suppress the grief in his heart, and tears fell down. "Okay, brave little knight, you did a great job, don't cry." Zero, who didn't know how to coax a child, tried to stop the boy from crying. The boy sobbed a few times, but he forced himself to stop crying. He looked at Zero and said solemnly, "I beg you, Ultraman, can you kill the monster that ate my mother?" The boy was no more than 12 years old. It was hard to imagine that a 12-year-old boy could say such a thing, and before that he had made many network attacks that hackers could not do. No matter how you look at it, he is a genius. Hearing this, Zero realized that things were not simple at all. The actions of the Kuruloids might be more terrifying than he imagined. Reaching out to touch the boy's head, Zero squatted down, shortened the distance between him, and said to him in the gentlest tone possible, "Then you take care of your sister first, don't let her be scared again, I'll leave for a while and come back soon." As soon as the voice fell, Zero left the boy and returned to No. 3789 Lake Valley Street. At this time, the three weirdos were still standing in punishment. Chapter Kuruloid's Cocoon, Earth Naught, National City, Lake Valley Street. 3789, in the room, the three weirdos were sweating profusely and dared not say a word. No word, huh? Then I'll go and see for myself. Looking at the three weirdos, Jello chose to use his own way to obtain information. Now the terrifying telekinesis instantly invaded the brains of the three weirdos, and all the memories were presented to Jello without reservation. Through the memories of these three guys, Jello saw a very large nest, which was filled with a large number of amber-like crystals, and a monster lay in each crystal. Each monster had a black and grey body, and there was a lamp-like organ on the side of the chest, and the face was crying and laughing. This familiar posture was clearly the production base of the Corylloids, and someone was mass-producing Corylloids. Seeing this, Jello's face was extremely solemn, and looking down, the production process of the Corylloids was presented to him. First, a large machine will produce Corylloid larvae 24 hours a day. These larvae will be placed in amber for cultivation, and human genetic information will be added during the process to help Corylloids better integrate into the human world. As for why they did not choose to transform humans into Corylloids, Jello speculated that the Corylloids produced in this way would be more obedient. If humans were transformed into Corylloids, they would likely overturn when encountering strong-willed human individuals. After the larvae are born, they will eat humans with corresponding genetic information to obtain all of their memories, which can further ensure that the chance of exposure when they sneak into the human world will not be too great. Poor children. Glancing at the female weirdo who was still standing in the punishment, Jello felt pity for the two children. According to the production process of Corylloids, their mother might have been killed. In addition, the memory time of this Corylloid has been for a long time, so even Jello can't save their mother. Going deeper, Zero found the location of the Corylloid cocoon. It was in a valley outside National City. Only Corylloid and a few senior members of the Blood Brotherhood knew the location. Moreover, the security measures of this base were very advanced and difficult to be discovered by outsiders. Even if Zero guessed that the other party had a base camp and the Justice League began to investigate secretly, they could still be as stable as a rock. It seems that we have to change the plan. Zero realized that he could not delay any longer. The villains of Earth 3 were always a threat. Every minute and second of delay would pose a threat to innocent people. Since he already knew the location of one of the bases, there was no need to continue to deal with it. This was just one Corylloid. If the other party had the ability to transform humans into monsters in large quantities like the blood-sucking monster Chimera or the blood-sucking monster Hranos, I'm afraid that thousands of people would suffer. We have to eradicate these guys as quickly as possible. Zero changed his combat strategy from now on. As for the three Corylloids who stole human identities, Jello naturally had only one attitude, that is, kill. With a slight raise of his hand, an 8-point light wheel as thin as a cicada's wing appeared in his hand. In the horrified eyes of the three Corylloids, this 8-point light wheel crossed their necks and beheaded them on the spot. The incision was very smooth, and not even a little blood flowed out. Killing the Corylloids did not cause any psychological burden to Jello. After destroying the bodies of the three Corylloids, Jello felt that something in the house was calling him. There was only one thing that could make Jello feel this way, and that was the concept fragment. Based on his feeling, Jello came to the basement of this house, and in the basement, Jello saw a computer made entirely of electronic waste. Could it be that the kid used this computer to carry out that level of cyber attack? It seems that the concept fragment is among them. It was a miracle that this computer made of electronic waste could be turned on, not to mention causing a large-scale cyber attack on a technology company. Only with the blessing of the highly adaptable concept fragments could this old computer do that. Looking at the computer in front of him, Zero stretched out his hands, and then used his superpowers to take out two concept fragments without destroying the computer structure. It is indeed a concept fragment, and they are both concept fragments of justice. Putting the two concept fragments in his palm, Zero naturally sensed two figures. One can switch between the plane and the steel giant, and the other is a Superman who can freely shuttle between the computer world. They are the Steel Warrior James and the Lightning Superman Gullet. Although the prototypes of the same concept fragments are all heroes of justice, they are not very compatible with Zero. Absorbing them will not bring Zero's strength, and will even share Zero's energy. The development and research of only retaining most of the concept fragments of the Ultraman core has already consumed a lot of experience. Zero has no time to develop the artificial life form Chaos Virus, but only improves it while training. Not to mention developing two concept fragments that are different from Zero's current direction. After putting away the two concept fragments, Zero plans to go back to see the two brothers and sisters first, find someone to settle them, and then go directly to the Corylloid people's hometown. Afterwards, Zero came to the place where the two children were placed. At this time, the boy had coaxed his sister to sleep. This boy, who was only 12 years old, became the head of the family at this moment. Zero, wearing a composite to armor, walked in front of him, then squatted down and said gently, "The monster has been defeated by me, you don't have to be afraid." "Thank you, Ultraman." The boy had no resentment and was even relieved. It may be because his parents were cult believers when they were alive, and they ignored their children's growth most of the time, causing the children to resent them, so it was not so painful for him to have his parents die. "Then what are you going to do next?" Zero looked at the boy and said softly, "Do you want me to send you and your sister to an orphanage? There will be people to take care of you there." "Yes, I think so too," the boy said firmly. Looking at the boy who was much more mature than his peers, Zero couldn't help but admire him. "Then you must protect your sister in the future." "I will definitely protect my sister." The boy's eyes were firm, but his young body contained a will as strong as steel. When the boy said this, Jello felt a vibration coming from the broken watch. When he checked it carefully, he found that it was James's conceptual fragments that resonated with the boy. Moon Ultra Beast Lunatics, Earth Nord National City. After sensing the movement of James's concept fragment, Jello guessed that the boy and James's fragment were quite compatible. But James's concept fragments cannot be used indiscriminately, otherwise it will bring danger to the body. Excluding Jello's special case and the user of the battle instrument, normal users will obtain bloodliness when they get concept fragments at the beginning, and will only obtain the basic body after accumulating enough. The mechanical life concept fragments can be said to be very terrifying in this process, while the normal monster and cosmic human concept fragments can be said to be flesh and blood, which is relatively friendly to humans. But if the mechanical life concept fragments are used directly by people, it is equivalent to converting flesh and blood into steel, directly changing from carbon-based life to silicon-based life. This process can be said to be very painful. However, keeping James's concept fragments is not of much benefit to Jello. At most it can extract related technologies. In this case, it is better to give this fragment to the boy. But before that, Jello planned to use the captured battle instrument data as a basis to create a transformation prop for the boy, so that this transformation prop could help the boy better master his power, and collect data by the way, in preparation for future research. After turning his attention back, Jello looked at the boy and asked, "Can you tell me your name?" "Yerson." Facing the question of his idol, Yer immediately answered, "My sister is called Satizan." "Very good, yeah, I will find someone to help you. Can you please wait here for a while?" Jello said in a gentle tone. "Okay. That's good, then I'll leave first." Jello stood up while notifying the relevant personnel, and then disappeared in front of Yer and his infant sister Satit. A few minutes later, the relevant personnel took Yer and Satit to the car heading to the orphanage. And Jello also drove at high speed towards the location of the coralloid cocoon. Like a meteor, Zero came to the valley where the cocoon was located at a very fast speed. After scanning with supervision, he determined the weak points and the hostage-holding positions, and then rushed in directly. At this time, there were still a large number of coralloids in the cocoon of the coralloids who were working hard to prepare for the birth of other coralloids. Boom! The thunderous sound reverberated at the hostage-holding position, and many humans imprisoned in the cells could not help but look sideways. When they found out that it was Zero, they immediately burst into tears. "It's Ultraman who came to save us. Look. It's Ultraman." The humans captured by the coralloids were not only cultists, but also many innocent people. Some cultists realized that something was wrong and wanted to run away but were caught again. Of course, there were also some stupid people who were not in their right minds who were still shouting, "Get lost. Fake. God has come to save us, you can't stop God's pace. Fuck, if you don't want to live, don't take us with you." The victim who was in the same cell with this idiot came up and punched him in the back of the head, knocking him unconscious on the spot. In addition to this idiot, 5 or 6 fanatics were also knocked unconscious. Crackle crackle crackle, there were bursts of noises coming from the detention center. It was Jello who used telekinesis to break the lock of the cell and released all the victims. "Take them with you, by the way." Jello glanced at the knocked out idiots casually, then pointed to a direction for everyone and explained, "Run in that direction. That's the direction I fought my way here. There are no monsters on the road. You can go ahead and I'll stop the pursuers." There were cheers and thanks from the victims. Although they were a little reluctant, they still took the knocked out fanatics with them. And Jello stayed in the detention center to cover the victims. There were noisy sounds coming from a distance. A large number of Keruloids were heading here. These Keruloids were all elite warriors. The three who were fixed by Zero at first glance were all trash. It was useless to suppress them with telekinesis. Therefore, there was only one choice left: fight. Yeah. With a powerful war cry, Zero, wearing a composite Tiger armor, rushed into the group of Keruloid warriors. For a moment, it was like the god of war descended. Only a few Keruloids could barely stop Zero, but even so, the number of Keruloids was also greatly reduced. In the deep room, Yabru and the King of Wise Knowledge also noticed what happened. Is this the decadence that the King of Evil Gentlemen said? I'm afraid that even when my fighting will was the strongest, I was not as good as him. Yabru said, puzzled. Shinzi, you guys leave there quickly. At this time, the Evil King called, and he said immediately without any time to waste. That guy is probably pretending to be decadent, and now that he knows the location of your base, he doesn't plan to act anymore. Yabru, you release a few super beasts to stop him, and then take the King of Shinzi away immediately. Also, Shinzi, you immediately let the puppet do something extremely harmful to divert the attention of the Emperor's isotope. Remember? With the command of the Evil King, Yabru and the King of Shinzi immediately moved their positions. The Blood Brothers were ordered to go to National City to cause trouble, and the full moon super beast Lunaticus was also left by Yabru to stop Zero. As for the truly powerful super beasts, Yabru didn't intend to consume them here. A few minutes later, Zero's feet were full of Keruloid corpses. Pushing these corpses aside, Zero quickly came to the cocoon where Keruloids were produced. Looking at the mother body that was still giving birth to the Keruloids, and the large number of Keruloid babies that were still being bred, Zero released the light without hesitation, destroying the place completely. Roar. Just as Zero was about to leave, a roar came from the Sea of Fire. Zero looked again and found that it was a rabbit-like Ultra Beast. With scarlet eyes, rabbit-like movements and habits, Zero recognized the Ultra Beast at a glance. The full moon Ultra Beast Lunaticus. If Zero was to say which Ultra Beast he hated the most, the full moon Ultra Beast Lunaticus would undoubtedly be ranked first, and he hated it so much that he wanted to tear it into pieces. Meteor Blast Fist. After identifying the enemy, Zero immediately attacked with the Meteor Blast Fist, and in an instant, a sky full of fist shadows appeared in front of Lunaticus. If Lunaticus had the ability to think and speak at this time, he would probably only curse. Zinjiri's Slaughterhouse. Please subscribe and recommend. Outside of National City on Earth, not in the underground base of the Blood Brotherhood, Zero, wearing a Tiger armor, was fighting with the full moon beast Lunaticus. Facing Zero's meteor blast, Lunaticus chose to resist with his body that was not afraid of pain. In an instant, many small pits appeared on Lunaticus' body, and a sound like firecrackers continued to come out of his body. Roar. After resisting the next meteor blast, Lunaticus let out a roar, and then its eyes actually left its eye sockets and turned into two flying missiles. Zero, who did not intend to take it, planned to shoot down the two eyeball bombs, but before he could gather energy, Lunaticus hit a large amount of smoke gas from his nose to hide himself. This smoke gas contained a lot of impurities, and the Omar's scanning module could only get a string of garbled codes, and the supervision and super hearing were immediately half useless. It was indeed this trick. With a wave of his hands, two light bullets intercepted the eyeball bomb. Realizing that Lunaticus wanted to attack him, Zero immediately used Ace's ability to crack the smoke and gas, perspective light. Zero's eyes, protected by optical eyepieces, emitted a blue light, and the next moment, Lunaticus' figure was nowhere to hide. Roar. Lunaticus let out a strange cry and jumped around like a stressed rabbit. The effect of perspective light is very strong. It can see through most obstacles in the world and force the enemy to show its original form. Only life beyond Zero's understanding will not be discovered by perspective light. After using perspective light to find Lunaticus, Zero immediately switched the armor form from composite to powerful. The Dilarcum bombardment covered Zero's arms, and the jets on the shoulder blades and elbows released blazing flames. These flames were also wrapped around the arms under Zero's control to enhance the lethality. With flames on his body, Zero, wearing red armor, stood in a sea of fire like a god. Amid the crackling sound in the sea of fire, Jello stepped lightly and attacked Lunaticus, who had not yet recovered. Roar. After roaring, Lunaticus fired high-temperature flames and eyeball bombs to stop Jello. Boom boom, two more eyeballs exploded beside him, but Jello ignored them and came to Lunaticus like a red comet. Comet Explosion Fist. With a light shout, Jello threw both fists, and Lunaticus quickly raised his arms to block. The two fists were like the bright sun, carrying all of Jello's strength and attacking Lunaticus. At this moment, Jello felt as if he had touched the threshold of the second stage, but he was still a little short, so he could not reach the second stage. Crack first, there was a sound, and then the skin on Lunaticus's arms began to twist, and the internal bones began to break. Lunaticus was a super beast that Jello had high hopes for, but Jello was also a strong warrior now. Realizing that he could not save his hands, Lunaticus immediately chose to abandon his hands and escape. His hands separated from Lunaticus in an extremely strange way, and then exploded, barely offsetting the comic blast fist. But Jello's offensive was not over yet. When Lunaticus lost both arms, he appeared in front of Lunaticus again. Jello turned his right hand into a hand knife, wrapped it with a layer of blue energy and began to swing it at high speed. In Lunaticus's own vision, it only saw 4 blade lights forming a prism. Then, Jello cut off all the sharp corners on both sides of Lunaticus' cheeks and above and below his mouth. The sharp corners on both sides of Lunaticus' cheeks act as amplifiers. Lunaticus can use these 2 sharp corners to enhance his hearing, so Jello wants to cut off these 2 amplifiers to see if he can cause Lunaticus to lose control temporarily. As for the corners above and below Lunaticus' mouth, Jello said that he has a bit of obsessive-compulsive disorder and feels a little sorry if he doesn't cut them all off. The amplifier was destroyed, and Lunaticus' core control unit also went out of control for a short time. Zero would not let her go for this purpose. Ace once said, "You must keep attacking until the Ultra Beast stops moving." So Zero did not intend to stop attacking before completely killing Lunaticus. In the blink of an eye, Zero stretched out his left hand and grabbed Lunaticus's jaw. His entire left arm exerted force, and Lunaticus's jaw and part of the neck flesh were taken off on the spot. The scene suddenly became bloody. Buzz buzz buzz, a series of low humming sounds came from the air. It was Zero who condensed the ultra-piercing blade on the outside of his right arm and strengthened it with dilithium energy, turning the originally green ultra-piercing blade red. Slightly adjusting his arm, aiming at the weak point of Lunaticus' neck, and bringing the Ultra Mist Slash technique, Zero was bound to end Lunaticus' life after this move. Dilithium energy 100% output. Ultra-piercing blade Mist Slash beheading. When the ultra-piercing blade touched the weak point of Lunatic's neck, a mist-like airflow suddenly appeared on the surface of the blade. Swish. In a moment, Zero used the combination skill ultra-piercing blade mist-breaking beheading to end Lunatic's life. About half a minute later, Lunatic's head rolled down. The ultra-piercing blade on the arm disappeared, and the armored form was also cut back to the composite form. The remains of Lunatic's were slightly cleaned up to prevent someone from using it. After that, Zero planned to return to the ultralight to make an auxiliary prop for his little fanniere. But Lina suddenly called Zero. "Jero, there's an accident in National City." Lina's tone was serious. Jero could sense something was wrong just by her tone. 3 minutes ago, a guy who looked like an alien broke into a primary school, controlled the teachers and students inside, and threatened to challenge you, otherwise he would kill all those ordinary people. Aliens, large-scale kidnappings. After listening to Lina's retelling, Jero probably guessed that it was the Coralloids who were causing the trouble. Then, Jero immediately notified his cousin and Martian Manhunter and asked them to help him. "Cousin Kara, please help me save the people. Uncle Ron, please also help me deal with the base left by the Blood Brothers cult." "It's okay. Just go and deal with that alien. Leave the rescue to me and Martian Manhunter. It's my duty." Kara, who was born warm-hearted, immediately said that she would be responsible for saving people. Martian Manhunter also said that this kind of thing was within the management scope of DEO, and Jero only needed to deal with the alien kidnappers. "Okay, thank you very much." After responding to his cousin, Jello flew away from the Blood Brotherhood base and flew towards the direction of National City. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novel, as there you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter Devil's Challenge. Earth North National City. Outside a certain school, reporters have already come over after smelling the scent and started live broadcasting. According to reliable information, not long ago, a spaceman kidnapper controlled all the teachers and students in the school and threatened the National City superhero Ultraman to fight him, otherwise he would kill all the teachers and students. What will our superhero do? The female anchor who was controlled by Cheyenne Zutian Wang that day was reporting in real time outside the school. When she was about to continue reporting, a blue-purple meteor suddenly streaked across the sky. It was Jello flying towards the school. The quick-eyed photographer immediately pointed the camera at the sky, and the female anchor who reacted quickly followed the report. It seems that our superhero has arrived, so what is he going to do next? In the sky, Jello stopped above the school. After taking a quick look at the surrounding situation, Jello felt something was wrong. Why are there so many media around here? When I usually deal with superpowered criminals, I don't gather too many media, and many of them take pictures after the fact. Isn't this guy thinking? Just as Zero was trying to figure out what the enemy was thinking, Blood Brother, who had been transformed into a Gorilloid, challenged Zero through the school broadcast. Ultraman, I've been waiting for you for a long time. If you want these low-level humans to survive, you'd better land now and remove your armor. It was a standard kidnapper's speech, and Zero was not surprised. Before removing his helmet, Zero reminded Kuro to speed up. Before Kuro rescued the innocent victim, Zero planned to be patient for a while, so he landed on the ground and slowly put away his Toga armor. After removing his Toga armor, Zero, wearing a black and blue combat uniform and black technology glasses on his face, stood in the middle of the school playground and shouted to Blood Brother, "I've done what you said. Didn't you want to challenge me? Come out." What an impatient person. As soon as Blood Brother finished speaking, he appeared in front of Zero. This man was wearing a red and white robe, with a strong body. He looked about 30 years old, much younger than Superman and Batman. But Jello felt a heavy aura of old age in this man, several times that of a normal old man. Logically, he should have been lying in a coffin long ago. He must have survived until now with the help of some means. Thinking of this, Jello turned on the spiritual vision of the silent bracelet. With the help of the spiritual vision perspective, Jello saw that a bunch of blood-red runes were wrapped around the Blood Brother's body, probably a contract with a certain demon. In connection with the bad things that the Blood Brother did, Jello believed that the price of the Blood Brother's longevity was to sacrifice those children to a certain demon. Let those ordinary people go. Jello said coldly. Before letting them go, you have to answer me a question, Ultraman. Do you want to be the savior of this world? The Blood Brother didn't seem to want to fight with Jello right away. He even talked to Jello with great interest and asked a question that made Jello frown. At this time, Jello, who was still using his psychic vision, discovered that Blood Brother actually did not have his own thoughts, but was a puppet used to delay his steps. Originally, Jello wanted to quickly kill Blood Brother, but now it seems that it is not impossible to keep him for a while. There is a chance to find the enemy's lair. Realizing this, Zero slowly tracked the enemy's trail while chatting with Blood Brother. Don't get me wrong, I have never regarded myself as a savior. No. Ha ha ha, stop deceiving yourself, hypocrite. Blood Brother laughed twice, pointed his finger at Zero, and said viciously, "You are just a hypocrite who implements false justice. You're a narrow-minded person who always lives in your own subjective consciousness. Even the Justice League, which is highly praised by countless people in the world, is just doing things that are in line with their values. Others may not have the same pursuit, right? In other words, that is just the subjective idea of the Justice League and the lies of you, a hypocrite." Listening to this very uncomfortable sophistry, Zero already had the answer in his heart. Facing the enemy's sophistry, he replied frankly, "So what? Are you going to let us sit back and watch villains like you who inflict violence on others act recklessly? Stop joking, Gorilloid." Although Jello called the Blood Brothers Gorilloids, there was still a little difference between the Blood Brothers and the Gorilloids produced in the cult base. That was that the Blood Brothers were actually transformed by the King of Wisdom himself, and they also retained the Blood Brothers' original immortal contract. However, in Jello's eyes, there was not much difference. They were both the type that would kill them. Very high-sounding, hypocrite. The Blood Brother smiled evilly, noticing that meteor drones and helicopters in the distance began to pay attention to this place. He opened his arms and acted intoxicated, saying, "So, come with me to welcome the arrival of the real God." Jello pointed at the Blood Brothers and said, "The proposal is good, but I refuse. I think you'd better agree." The Blood Brothers' tone became very unhappy. The aura of killing filled the school playground, and the fence in the distance made a loud clang sound out of thin air. This was caused by the invisible collision of telekinesis between Jello and the Blood Brothers. After a few breaths, Blood Brother was defeated. He took a few steps back with a pale face, adjusted his breathing, and then said to Zero, "Do you really want to anger me? Well, I'll let you see how angry we Gorilloids are." After being transformed, Blood Brother no longer considered himself a human being, but a thorough Gorilloid. Even his personality was completely modified. The next moment, countless cracks appeared under Blood Brother's feet, and surging flames sprayed out from the cracks, wrapping Blood Brother in them. Kira, have you rescued the hostages? Zero took out the Origin Sublimator and asked Kira with telepathy. He had already found the approximate location of the Earth-3 Vanguard base camp, so Blood Brother's role was not great. It's done, you can deal with that guy with confidence. With Kira's answer, Zero was relieved. The Origin Sublimator was activated, and after a burst of white light, the figure of Ultraman Trigger gradually condensed. Opposite Ultraman Trigger, the 52-meter-tall and 45,000-ton flame warrior, Kiriloid, gradually took shape. His face seemed to be smiling, his body was asymmetrical like a black-grey rock, and even his hands were one thick and the other thin. This was the flame warrior, Kiriloid. Facing the Giant of Light, the flame warrior took a fighting stance and challenged the Giant of Light. Chapter vs. Kiriloid by Earth North National City. As the huge bodies of Ultraman Trigger and the Flame Warrior Kiriloid appeared on the ground, the media reporters outside the school were also excited. Dear audience friends, it is the Giant of Light who appeared before. Now, he appears in front of us again. It seems that he is going to deal with the giant astronaut in front of us. Please wait and see. There are many speeches like this, and Zero, who listened to these speeches, flew up slightly and hooked his finger to the Blood Brother who turned into a Kiriloid in front of him. Looking at Zero's actions, the Blood Brother understood that the other party wanted to move the battlefield to the air. After making a series of strange sounds of kiri, the Blood Brother also followed Zero's steps and flew into the sky. It seems that the Blood Brother also doesn't want to hurt innocent citizens. Is he really that good? The two are very fast. In the blink of an eye, Zero and the Blood Brother arrived at an altitude of 1,000 meters. July 17, 1957, 13-13-year-old boys, November 13, 1963, 7-7-year-old girls, July 8, 1974, 8-8-year-old boys. December 23, 1979, 9, November 27, 1986, 17. The information about the children killed by the Blood Brothers echoed in Jello's ears like a voice, and silent anger filled Jello's chest. In order to seek justice for the dead children, Jello fought with the Blood Brothers at the fastest speed. Even if ordinary people standing on the ground have the bonus of a camera, they can still only capture two after images constantly colliding. In addition, there are spherical shock waves. Above the sky, the spherical shock waves formed by 1% of the power kept tearing the surrounding clouds. After more than 10 seconds, the clouds around Jello and the Blood Brothers had been completely blown away. Kiri, the vocal organs made a strange sound. Blood Brother looked at his shaking hands and felt that his attack just now seemed to have hit the diamond wall. On the other side, Jello was very relaxed. His weight of 88,000 tons gave him an extremely strong body. Although Jello's full-strength attack could only destroy 1 to 4 cities, even if it could destroy the American continent, Jello could resist it with his body. Today, Jello is a top-level Blood Cow hero. The gap between Jello and Blood Brother is more terrifying than the gap between a heavyweight boxer and a mini-lightweight boxer. Jello took a set of combos from Blood Brother head-on, but he felt nothing. He looked at Blood Brother, and his calm eyes seemed to say, "It's my turn." Then, Jello attacked Blood Brother at an extremely terrifying speed. Behind Jello, several circles of milky white mark rings appeared instantly. The next moment, Jello flashed in front of Blood Brother, and saw arcs jumping on his right arm. The power reached its peak, and then he swung it towards Blood Brother's chest. Boom! Blood Brother felt that he was hit first, and then heard a loud noise. Blood Brother, who was hit by a punch, felt that his whole body was about to fall apart, and he felt that every cell was howling in pain. Under the severe pain, Blood Brother could only subconsciously swing his claws to fight back, but this action was full of flaws in Jello's eyes. Seizing the right opportunity, Jello grabbed Blood Brother's outstretched arm with both hands and spun it at high speed. The huge centrifugal force made it difficult for Blood Brother to even think. When Blood Brother's brain was almost shaken, Jello threw this guy away. Blood Brother, who was thrown out, was like a windmill. Seeing this, Jello took the opportunity to add 2 8-point light wheels. The blue and white 8-point light wheels spun at high speed, tearing the air, and flew towards Blood Brother with Jello's anger. The 8-point light wheels swept across the sky, and under Jello's precise telekinesis control, the 8-point light wheels passed through Blood Brother's legs at a very precise angle. Swish! The next second, a little bit of blood flowed out, and the two thighs were immediately separated from the Blood Brother. Kira Kira Kiri. The blood brother wailed in pain. Although the legs were a renewable resource for him, it was still very painful to have them cut off. Without waiting for the blood brother to regenerate his legs, Jello teleported to the front of the blood brother. He clenched his fists and was ready to punch. Ah! The battle cry was issued, and the two fists broke through the air. In an instant, countless fist shadows broke through the air, and Jello did not waste any of his strength and concentrated all his attacks on the blood brother, ensuring that there was no waste. At this time, the blood brother was like a small boat in the storm. If it were not for Jello's precise control of strength, the blood brother would have turned into a pile of meat sauce. Why are you targeting me like this? We can be on the same path. The blood brother began to beg for mercy through telepathy, but Jello did not respond to his meaning, but just punched silently. This horrific attack lasted for more than a minute. When Brother Blood was almost numb from being beaten, Jello stopped punching. Looking at Jello, who could have beaten him into a pulp with one punch, but had to control the strength so that he would not die so quickly, Brother Blood felt a little proud. What? Don't you dare to kill me! Jello activated the silent bracelet while saying something that Brother Blood could not understand. There are too many people in this world who want to kill you, and they want to kill you more than I do. Your life and death must be decided by them. Although in the Ultraman posture, the magic damage ability of the silent bracelet still works. The terrifying energy like a volcanic eruption made the magic damage ability stronger and stronger. Jello's right arm was wrapped with a layer of magic runes. At this moment, Jello's spirit and energy seemed to have reached a terrifying state. As he threw this last punch, Jello also reached the second stage. At this moment, Jello felt that he had been sublimated in some way. After the accumulation of hellish training, Jello finally entered the second stage today. Boom! A faint sonic boom was heard in the air, and Zero punched through the chest of Blood Brother. This punch not only severely injured Blood Brother, but also destroyed his immortality. The power of the Coralloids was exhausted, causing Blood Brother to turn back into human form in mid-air. Zero released a part of his power to protect Blood Brother from death, and also delivered the evidence collected by Onoya. After doing all this, Zero disappeared in the sky. As for Blood Brother's death in the hospital a few days later, the reason was that he died of 182 stab wounds in the back and ingestion of 37 grams of cyanide poisoning. It was not Zero's business. After all, they Ultramen generally don't care about human affairs. Chapter 2. Nexus. Earth-Nord National City. After dealing with the Blood Brothers, Zero returned to the Ultralight and sorted out his own status. Taking a deep breath, after calming his mind, Zero began to examine his current strength. According to Zero's current understanding of that concept fragments, the development stage can be roughly divided into 4 stages. The first stage is to have a huge body that can carry power, but Zero can only use part of the power when using the power of other Ultramen. Just like the power of Ultraman Taro only reflects the Ultra Heart in Zero, the ability of Ultraman Tiga only reflects the energy absorption, and the power of other Ultramen is not obvious. This is also because Zero is still in the first stage and can only be said to be just starting. The second stage is different. The second stage is to choose one from a large number of Ultraman concept fragments and evolve in the direction of a certain Ultraman. This is a very simple thing for users who hold a single concept fragment. After all, a concept fragment will definitely evolve towards the object represented by the concept fragment. When the second stage is developed to the end, the user of the concept fragment will obtain power that is not inferior to the original. But this does not mean that the user is equal to the original, because the will and other factors of the concept fragment user will also affect the combat power, so there will be differences from the original. Zero, who has just entered the second stage, has many choices. Taking Ultraman Ticket as the development object, Zero can obtain the ability to transform, and may even become Shining Trigger when a major event comes. If you choose Dyna, you will get the ultimate explosive power, and if you choose Gay and Dagiru, you may be able to move around on Earth without restrictions. If you choose Cosmos, you can be a legendary fusion material. However, there are no mysterious 4 Ultramans in the Ultraman concept fragments that Zero holds. Maybe it is because the mysterious 4 Ultramans are too high, so no concept fragments were produced in the overlap of the multiverse. Therefore, Zero chose the evolutionary route of the second stage, which is Ultraman Nexus. In the second stage, only one fixed object can be selected for evolution, so the choice is very important. Zero chose Ultraman Nexus, not only because Nexus himself is not weak, but also because Nexus has a strange relationship with Ultraman Noah, the legendary giant among the mysterious 4 Ultramans. Therefore, Zero wanted to take this opportunity to explore this extremely tempting mysterious area. After selecting the route, the huge Ultraman concept fragments immediately became more closely connected to Zero. Zero, who used Nexus as the evolution template, also found that there was an extra symbol on his chest. This was a red flying bird pattern, which was almost the same as the energy core of Nexus's young form. When Zero selected the evolution route, he felt that many skills appeared in his mind. Then, Zero rubbed his temples and said, "If I want to exert the full power of Nexus, I have to reshape my body, but this will take at least a year. I'm afraid the enemies of Earth 3 won't give me so much time. The enemies of Earth 3 are the top priority, and Zero can't help but ignore them, so he has to do his best to adjust himself to the strongest state before the enemy arrives." With Nexus as the evolution template, Zero's skill library has been enriched again, and he can adjust his own skills. Modifying skills is a quick thing, so Zero plans to put it aside and deal with the matter of James's concept fragments first. Besides, his elder brother is getting married soon, and as a younger brother, he has to give a gift to the bride. Recalling Lois Lane's very suicidal personality and what the Joker did at a certain time, Jello plans to give Lois something. After making it casually, a whistle-like thing appeared in Jello's hand. This thing looks similar to an electronic cigarette, but in fact, it contains high-concentration radon and has a built-in sensor. Once it detects danger around, it will release high-concentration radon, turning Lois into a superhuman existence in a few seconds. In this case, that thing won't happen, right? Jello thought secretly in his heart. After making this radon electronic cigarette, Jello asked Oyo to pack the entire gift box, and he went to deal with the James Burke concept fragments. Yeah, and James Burke concept fragments have a high degree of adaptability. At a young age, he has realized the top passive skill of sister control. With James Burke concept fragments, it is only a matter of time before he takes off. Therefore, Jello made a transformation prop for Air based on the data of the awakening combat instrument he had seized. This is a transformation prop with a grip part composed of black and grey as the base color and a transparent crystal card on the top. There is also a handguard on the grip part to ensure that the prop will not fall out of the hand. There is a switch where the crystal card and the grip part are connected. As long as this switch is pressed, the user can become Janbot. In order to better call this transformation prop, Jello named it Prototype Transformation Crystal Card. There is also a backdoor script for collecting data. The materials are made of materials that cannot be seen by Earthlings. Except for the people designated by Jello, other Earthlings cannot see this Prototype Transformation Crystal Card. Afterwards, Jello asked Oyo to give this prop to Air, and by the way, he said, "I believe you can protect your sister in this world with your sister." After doing all this, Jello began to organize his own skills so that his combat power can be improved one step further. At this time, in a palace on Earth 3. With the help of the unique induction between isotopes, Jello also felt that the development of the concept fragment of one isotope had reached the second stage. Someone has actually developed the unit core to the next stage. Could it be the cosmic isotope that I asked the evil squires to investigate? Things seem to be getting interesting. Sitting on the throne, Jello's face, which was exactly the same as Jello's, showed a little anger. 6 figures appeared behind him, and the dark power lingered on the back of his hand. TSK. After discovering that the dark power had leaped out again, Jello smacked his lips slightly, and then forced the 6 completely different dark powers back into his body. It seems that Jello and his 6 concept fragments do not get along harmoniously, and it can even be said to be bad. These restless dark powers are not the first to leak out. As long as Jello shows signs of decline, they will rush out. While Jello was suppressing his power, a voice appeared inside the hall. "I don't know if I can help your majesty." The voice was a little frivolous, but it sounded very similar to his own, which made Jello wary. "You little rascal, tell me your name." "I am the ultimate life form, a warrior of the Absolute people, Absolute Jello." The next moment, a man with long golden hair and the same face as Jello appeared in the hall. Chapter I am the ultimate life form, Earth 3. Palace. There were only 2 figures in the huge palace. With the help of the unique design of the palace, Jello's self-introduction became extremely clear when it fell into Jello's ears. "Ultimate life form? You dare to call yourself the ultimate life form in front of me? You are very courageous, my peer." Looking at Jello below, Jello leaned his head on the throne and only looked at Jello with the corner of his eye. Just looking at the faces, Jello, and Jello, there is actually no difference between the 3, but Jello and Jello have black hair, and Jello has blonde hair. In terms of demeanor, the difference between the 3 is huge. Compared with Jello, who is now friendly most of the time, Jello seems more evil and arrogant, and he is always emitting murderous aura around him. As for Jello, this peer with blonde hair and wearing a white dress, he is smiling, but his smile makes people feel very uncomfortable. I think we can be more harmonious. With a smile that made Jello very disgusted, Jello talked about why he came here. After all, your majesty is in the most dangerous situation in all the parallel universes I know. Although you look bright and beautiful, soon, that terrifying Demon King will catch up with you here. You are no match for the Demon King, so you want to help me? Jello snorted coldly and said disdainfully. Although the guy in front of him who called himself Axolot Jello saw his current predicament, Jello did not want to listen to Jello's opinion. Not to mention that Jello's origins were unknown, Jello's imperial arrogance made him unwilling to cooperate with others casually. That's right. Jello smiled and snapped his fingers, then explained to Jello. The concept fragments I hold are the most special. When I entered the second stage and selected the evolution template, I gained the ability to travel through parallel universes. After that, I even observed the specific situation of the main universe isotope from a distance. He has now entered the second stage. Concept fragments, evolution templates, second stage, main universe, these words that have never been heard of made Jello a little confused. Putting these keywords together, Jello realized something very bad. Now his development progress has fallen behind others. Moreover, Jello even called the concept fragments by the wrong name. Over the years, he has always called the concept fragments unit cores, which made the proud empire a little unhappy. Jello's expression remained unchanged on the surface. He crossed his left leg over his right leg and glanced at Jello with the corner of his eyes. He sneered and said, "So what? I still have enough power to defeat the main universe isotope you mentioned." "That's not certain." Jello stretched out his index finger and tapped it on his lips. He knew a lot of things and spoke like a sharp arrow. He pointed out Jello's biggest problem at once. "Your Majesty, your development progress has completely stopped, right? Although your concept fragments are very powerful, the power properties of these concept fragments can even be said to be mutually exclusive. The properties of my concept fragments and those of the main universe isotope are extremely similar, so it is very smooth for us to enter the second stage, but you are different. Your 6 different concept fragments will riot and tear you apart when you choose one of them as the evolution template. The wrong choice has already put you in a dead end, Your Majesty." Jello did not answer, because he knew that every word Jello said was true. He also had only one concept fragment at the beginning, but Jello was not satisfied with this, so he chose to collect other powerful concept fragments to make himself stronger. The 6 boss-level concept fragments make Jello extremely powerful, and his ultimate burst could even defeat Superman. But is this temporary strength real? Now, when Jello learned that Jello had both entered the second stage, he also felt a little nervous. "Do you believe me, Your Majesty?" Jello was confident, because before coming, he knew that Jello would believe him. Because, this is Jello's fate. HMPH, Jello sneered, "You still can't convince me, isotope." Hearing Jello's answer that was completely in line with his expectations, Jello raised his hands, golden energy leaped with electric sparks, and 2 rubies appeared on the back of his hands. "You want to start a war?" Seeing this, Jello stood up from the throne, and the desire for battle ignited from the deepest part of his heart. "I just want you, Your Majesty, to see other isotopes." Jello smiled, and the ruby on the back of his hand created a picture in front of the 2. In the first picture, a young man wearing a crystal armor holds a halberd and is full of pride. The Justice League walks with him and he eventually becomes one of the greatest heroes in the world. In the second picture, at the end of the apocalypse, the young man ignites a raging fire, wears a revenge armor, and kills all the villains in the world. In the third picture, a woman in black with a cold face and a cool aura exudes justice, and the whole universe praises her deeds. In the fourth picture, the young man who lost his life lies in his brother's arms, and there is a pregnant woman who has lost her breath beside him. The god of the world wearing a red cloak roars to the sky. We are all isotopes of the one in the main universe. Jello calmly narrated all this. He looked at Jello, whose fighting spirit had slightly subsided, and said, "Because of his existence, we have the power we have now, and that's why I'm here. Because of him." Jello's eyes condensed, and the murderous intent emerged again. "You'd better explain it to me clearly." "I'll just tell you simply, the main universe is the core of the multiverse. Because they exist, we exist, and the fate of all of us is tied to them. Because of the one who keeps moving forward in the main universe, we, The isotopes have everything we have now. Hearing this, Jello also understood the status of the main universe. Compared with the main universe, the lives of these parallel universes are just things that were taken along. However, after years of competing with the crime syndicate and even suppressing the crime syndicate as an emperor, Jello would not be too out of control. Slowly leaving the throne, his boots made a crisp sound on the marble floor. With every step Jello took, the dark power became stronger. When he walked down the stairs and was still some distance away from Jello, the overwhelming darkness had already pressed towards Jello. Since you know so much, you should be very clear about one thing, that is, I will not be easily persuaded. Of course, I know, so I am also prepared. Jello smiled, and endless golden light bloomed from his body. For a moment, he was even as strong as Jello. Chapter Absolute versus Darkness. Earth 3 Palace. Because Super and others blocked the sun, there was not even a ray of sunlight on the entire Earth 3, and the existence of Jello made things worse. However, today, a golden beam of light pierced the sky, bringing a faint light to the people of Earth 3. What is that? Super, who had been looking at Jello's palace, felt that the light was extremely dazzling, which made him disgusted. In the center of the light, Super also felt a strong breath. That kind of terrifying energy seemed to be able to destroy everything. But the next moment, the light disappeared between heaven and earth, including Jello, whom Super had always cared about, and disappeared. Even he disappeared? Could it be? No, there must be something wrong. I can't just seize power. Super, who still had a thief's heart, but was restricted by some reasons and had to obey Jello, temporarily made the idea of seizing power and waited and watched. In fact, Jello did not disappear, but came to a different dimension. This is a desolate land, made up of several continents. There are objects similar to magma at the connection, eagle-like rocks stand everywhere, and strange transparent bodies float in the air. If Jello is here, he will definitely recognize this special space called Monster Cemetery. In the universe of the Ultraman series, the Monster Cemetery is the destination of all the monsters and cosmic people after death. With its special nature, the Monster Cemetery also has the ability to connect to the multiverse. The concept fragments of the Monster Cemetery also fell into Jello's hands, but the concept fragments of the Monster Cemetery are of special nature and cannot be used directly. Jello can only let it restore the original function of the Monster Cemetery. But in this process, Jello added a little material, making him the owner of the Monster Cemetery and having the first control. The souls of the lives that were once killed by Jello will also come here, and today, Jello and Jello will fight here. Show some real skills. Wearing black and red armor and a triangular helmet, Jello, who only left his scarlet eyes staring straight at Jello, shouted, and a big sword with a bat gauntlet appeared in his hand. As you wish. Jello replied softly. At this time, Jello also turned into a golden figure. Judging from his appearance, he was very similar to Jello's Ultraman. But Ultraman Trigger always had a smile on his face, while Jello's mouth was drooping, which made people feel that he was very unhappy. There were two white hymns on Jello's waist, which swayed wantonly with the shockwave generated by Jello's energy increase. When Jello was about to approach, Jello stretched out his right hand, and golden arcs danced between his fingers, turning into a thunder dragon and running towards Jello. Absolute execution. The golden thunder dragon was heading towards Jello, but Jello just swung his sword to block it and chopped the thunder dragon into pieces. Countless dark tentacles appeared behind him and stabbed towards Jello. Looking at Jello's dark tentacles, Jello dodged flexibly as if he had known their trajectory long ago. The timing of each dodge was just right, leaving Jello just a little short. You're not going to make any sense if you do this. Jello removed the dark tentacles that couldn't touch Jello's clothes, raised his left hand and released a strange black mist. This black mist has no mass reaction. If a creature inhales it, it will be paralyzed at best, die at worst, and even corrode technological items. Even Jello knew that if he let this black mist touch him, he might even burn his soul. Absolute execution. The same trick, but Jello chose to use it in a different way. A sky full of golden lightning rain flew out of Jello's hand, flew into the black mist without hesitation, and used energy to force the black mist back. Looking at the scene in front of him, Jello also tentatively released some of Jello's power. With such energy intensity, it seems that you have more than one concept fragment, right? I guessed correctly, it should be the same series of concept fragments. That's right. Jello patted the non-existent dust on his body with his hands and asked Jello, "So your majesty, how do you think my energy intensity compares to yours?" "Not weak, but not as strong as mine." Jello said affirmatively, and then changed the subject. Besides, we haven't decided the winner yet. The 6 boss level concept fragments brought Jello a very terrifying energy intensity, far exceeding Jello and Jello. But Jello and Jello's energy intensity will be more concentrated. Because of the similar nature, it is also very easy to win to the second stage, and it is easier to control. In this case, then I will accompany you to the end, absolute destruction. Jello was not a person who would admit defeat. He raised his hands in front of him and crossed them. The energy of absolute continued to concentrate, turning into golden lightning that wrapped around his hands, and the scale was still increasing. The prototype of a golden lightning ball began to appear. Okay, I'll do it too. Wearing dark armor, Jello chose the power he was most comfortable with. Dark waves gathered in his hands, black and red arcs kept jumping, and the Resolime Ray was also ready to go. When the energy reached its peak, Absolute Execution and Resolime Ray flew towards each other. A fierce collision occurred in the monster cemetery. The two strong men's unreserved moves made the monster cemetery begin to shake continuously, as if it was about to collapse. The deafening sound of boom boom continued to echo in the monster cemetery. After about 5 minutes, it slowly stopped. After the shaking ended, Jello and Jello looked at each other. The battle between the two seemed to be evenly matched, but Jello and Jello knew that the other party's trump cards had not been fully released. After the battle, Jello returned to his original state. He smiled and looked at Jello, saying, "If your majesty wants truly powerful power, then go find something called Heart of Darkness, which will bring you peerless power. Do you think I will listen to you?" Jello looked at Jello unhappily. He was arrogant by nature and did not like to listen to other people's advice. There was only one thing he trusted the most in his life, and that was power. Jello put his hands behind his back and smiled. "Of course you will go, because that is power." After saying that, Jello opened a portal with golden light, walked into it under Jello's eyes, and disappeared in front of Jello. After Jello disappeared, Jello repeated what Jello had just said. "Heart of Darkness? Can it bring me power?" Jello, who only likes power, of course would not miss this opportunity and decided to find the Heart of Darkness, which has only one name. At this moment, in a warmly decorated room, two figures were enjoying afternoon tea and the short battle. "Destiny, have you shown him that book?" Lucifer asked the being beside him who appeared even earlier than the DC Universe. Nexus Armor in Chapter Design DC Universe. Inside the house, there was a person sitting next to Lucifer, and the distance between him and this person was only a tea table. Gently putting down the teacup, wearing a brown robe and blind, Destiny said to Lucifer, "That is his destiny. Since the multiverse overlap, the Book of Destiny has been updated. He will see the Book of Destiny, which is also part of Destiny. I will not stop it. As one of the oldest beings in the DC Universe, Destiny has a Book of Destiny. This book records the past, present and future. The fate of all things is inseparable from this book. And Destiny will not interfere with the development of things, because that is originally part of Destiny. You are still the same," Lucifer said calmly. He picked up his own teacup, took a sip and said, "But now there is a little ghost who wants to find that former spirit of revenge. I don't know if the boy can survive this time." Destiny did not speak, because he knew Lucifer's omniscience and omnipotence best. After a moment of silence, Destiny took over. "Infinite fate will guide them. Yes, leave everything to fate." Lucifer put down the teacup, stood up and left the house, ending this afternoon tea with fate. When leaving, Lucifer remembered something. "Oh, the little guy Superman is getting married, but it's a pity that I don't know him, otherwise I could go and play the role of a priest." "Forget it, I'll go and play the role of a priest when the little guy gets married." With the idea of cosplaying his father, Lucifer, who was also a fun-loving person, returned to Los Angeles and waited for the next customer to arrive in the Lux Piano Bar. Earth North National City Time. May 3, 2015. After dealing with the Blood Brothers, some time had passed. At this time, Jello had just finished a training session. He was covered in wounds and found a chair to sit down. After he leaned back on the chair, he said to Oya, "How is the upgrade of Ace Armor going?" "The progress has reached 71%. The upgrade of US Series Armor is not complicated and will be completed in a few days," Oya replied. "Since the enemy includes the About people, using Ace Armor to deal with the Super Beasts is the best choice. Therefore, Jello chose to strengthen Ace Armor alone to deal with the Super Beasts that may appear. As for the strengthening of other US Series Armors, Jello has not yet put it on the agenda, because he and Oya need to create a new set of armor during this period of time, Nexus Armor. After all, Jello has chosen Nexus as the evolution template, so Nexus armor is the armor that can best exert Jello's strength. According to Zero's numbering, the Ticket armor is numbered UA-01T, the Diner armor is UA-02D, the Gay armor and the Agiru armor UA-03G and UA-04 respectively, and the Gauss armor, which has not been designed yet, is UA-05C. The Nexus armor is numbered UA-06N. The Nexus armor is very unique, because the sector armor is equipped with a prototype evolvable energy core, which can collect data and complete evolution independently, so Zero does not need to worry about the problem of the energy core version not keeping up. This prototype evolvable energy core is the excellent part of the A-module technology that Zero took, and he needs to inject some of his energy into it to make it. Today, Zero has chosen Nexus as the evolution template, which carries some of Nexus's evolutionary characteristics. It is even more powerful when combined with the existing technology. But one thing to note is that the evolvable energy core performed very poorly in the adaptability test of other armors, which is even worse than the performance of the ordinary energy core. Since the evolvable energy core is exclusive to the Nexus armor, Zero also made drastic changes to the Nexus armor. The final result is the bond module. This module can resonate with the evolvable energy core and complete the switch of armor forms during battle, but this form switch is very different from that of Tigadina. Tigadina's form switch is a different combat style, while the form switch of the Nexus armor is an all-round enhancement. Zero and Oyo can calculate that there are only 2 advanced forms, and the Nexus armor still has the possibility of continuing to evolve until it evolves into a form that belongs to Zero. By then, Zero may have completed the development of the second stage. However, there is one thing that Zero is not so happy about, because the technology of the Nexus armor is difficult to apply to other armors. It can be said that all the technologies used in the Nexus armor are special technologies, and even some interface specifications are different from other armors. About an hour and a half later, Zero temporarily stopped designing the Nexus armor. The injuries from training have been healed, and since tomorrow is his brother's wedding, Jello doesn't want to get injured during training and make his parents worry. So Jello chose to turn on the gravity mode of the watch, exerting great pressure on his body, and began a relatively boring physical exercise. The next day, Kansas. The sunshine in Kansas in May is just right, but not too glaring. The pleasant climate makes the guests feel comfortable. The small town of Smallville, a slightly remote town, welcomed many outsiders today. The wedding site was chosen near the Kent family farm, not the church. The ground was paved with a red carpet. The newlyweds bought some flowers as decorations, and some plants that cannot be found in the Milky Way were inserted on the flower arch. The oath stand was made of solid wood, painted with a layer of paint and covered with a red carpet. Not many people can be invited, and they are all very important people to the newlyweds. Wearing a khaki suit, Jello appeared at the wedding scene. He looked around and found that many people had come today. Wonder Woman, Aquaman and his wife, Hal Jordan and Carol Ferris, Barry Allen and Iris West, Wally West, Dick Grayson. Jello even saw a shiny bald head in the crowd. Why is this bald guy here? Just when Jello thought that Lex Luthor was also invited, the other party also noticed him. Lex walked towards Jello with a glass of red wine in his hand and greeted him in a familiar manner. Clark's younger brother, I have wanted to meet you for a long time. Nice to meet you. It's an honor for me, Mr. Lex. Jello replied politely. Looking at the person in front of him who is also his sister-in-law in a sense, he couldn't think of what to say for a while. Chapter Wedding, Earth North, Kansas, Smallville Town Time. May 4, 2015. Clark and Lois' wedding day. Relatives and friends gathered together, temporarily putting down their work on this happy day. Superheroes chose today as a holiday, and most of the villains who are still in their right minds also chose to temporarily cease fighting. After all, being pulled back to work overtime can easily make people angry. At this time, there was still more than an hour before the wedding started, and the guests were either chatting with friends or enjoying desserts. For example, Lex, he found Jello. Looking at the big bald head standing in front of him, Jello's brain turned quickly, and before he was embarrassed, he brought up another topic. By the way, Mr. Lex, don't you feel dangerous when you go out without a bodyguard? Dangerous? Where is it dangerous? Lex smiled, glanced around and said, is there any place safer than here? Although Lex doesn't like superheroes, even he has to admit that if there is no Justice League, the Earth will suffer unimaginable disasters. Power is always a level that cannot be bypassed in this world. There is a saying that goes, swords can be used without, but they cannot be absent. Glancing at the scene, Jello knew that the combined combat power of the wedding could defeat most of the civilizations in the universe. So Jello said to Lex, "It seems that I have not considered it enough." Jello. At this time, a voice sounded behind Jello. Hearing this voice, Jello immediately turned his head and found that it was Donna who came to attend today's wedding. Donna looked like she had spent a lot of time dressing up today. Her originally smooth black straight hair was slightly permed, and her already beautiful face became more delicate after makeup. She also wore a light blue dress, with a brown belt around her waist, and a pair of 3-centimeter high heels on her feet. This dress did not show Donna's heroic appearance on the battlefield at all, but more like a girl waiting for her lover's response. Looking at Donna, who had not seen her for some time, Jello felt that his heart beat faster in that 0.01 second, but he suppressed it immediately. "Long time no see, Donna," Jello replied. Looking at the two people who were definitely having something fishy going on, Uzi showed a playful smile on his face, and his free hand kept stroking his chin, and he joked, "It seems that I will have to attend another wedding in a while." To be honest, although Uzi would let Jello protect Lina and let them get so close, Uzi, as a pillar sister control, definitely did not want to see the scene of his sister being taken away. At the time, Lex would probably put on super armor and fight the person who took his sister away. Seeing that there was something fishy between Jello and Donna, Lex walked away very tactfully to make room for the two. After Lex walked away, Jello walked in front of Donna, and his brain, which was filled with countless knowledge but did not know what love was, worked rapidly, but only allowed Jello to say one sentence. "Let's go to another place." After hearing this, Donna looked around and found that there were indeed too many people around, so she nodded and answered in her most gentle voice, "Okay." Then, Jello took Donna to a more remote corner, where other guests were talking in the distance. There was no one else here, so Jello asked Donna, "I feel that you are a little different. Have you entered the first stage?" "Well, since I looked directly at that feeling, I have made rapid progress in mastering the dark power you mentioned. I should be able to become a giant like you now, but it is dark." Donna looked at her fair palms. The calluses that were originally caused by years of holding the sword disappeared, and even the skin became more delicate. She was almost a little uncomfortable, and these were all the benefits brought by the first stage. Hearing this, Jello smiled and comforted Donna, "There is no need to care too much about the dark power. Just use your reason to control it. I believe in you." "Then can you tell me more about how to develop these powers?" Donna said while brushing her hair behind her ears. "To be honest, I feel that you have become more powerful. Even I feel that I can't catch up with you." The first time she saw Jello again, Donna felt his terrifying power. She felt that the difference between herself and Jello was like the difference between a lake and the sea. If this continues, I'm afraid I will lose the qualification to stand by his side, right? Although I have made progress, it is still too insignificant compared to Jello. Okay, I will tell you what you need to pay attention to when developing concept fragments. Seeing Donna's concerns, Jello used telepathy to tell Donna what she needed to pay attention to when developing. After Jello finished speaking, the wedding was about to begin, and many guests had already taken their seats in the distance. Seeing this, Jello stood up, stretched out his hand and joked with Donna, "Do me a favor?" "What if I don't?" Although Donna said this, she stretched out her hand very consciously and shook Jello's hand. Then, Jello and Donna walked into the wedding scene together. After a moment, Jello found his seat in the first row on the right, and next to him, there was Donna. The first row of chairs on the right can seat 4 people. Jello found that the people sitting on the same chair with him were Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle. The benches in the first row on the left are the seats for the parents of the bride and groom, and starting from the second row, they are the relatives and friends of the bride and groom. For example, the guests in the second row on the right are Hal Jordan and Barry Allen, as well as their lovers. A few minutes later, the melodious and cheerful wedding march sounded under the performance of the band. The priest who presided over the wedding entered first, followed by Claire Kent in a handmade suit, Martha and old Jonathan. The wedding was very simple, and there were no best men or bridesmaid. Perhaps it was the unique idea of the bride and groom that most of the steps were omitted. Clark, with a flushed face and curly hair blowing in the wind, watched his beloved Lois get off the wedding car. The slim fishtail wedding dress made her the most beautiful heroine today. She smiled like a queen about to ascend the throne, and slowly walked towards Claire with the support of her father. In front of Lois, there were 2 flower girls who kept throwing flowers. If we exclude the expression of one of the flower girls who looked unwilling, as if everyone present, especially the richest man in Gotham in that first row on the right, owed him 100 million, it would be perfect. Seeing the unwilling expression on the face of the flower girl, Hal and Barry couldn't help but whisper to each other. This child looks a little unhappy. Did his parents force him to come? Maybe, but this child's face is too stinky, and, before the two finished speaking, Bruce Wayne turned his head, looked at the two with distrust, and said, "Do you have any objections to my son? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novel, as there you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels." Chapter Heart, Earth North, Kansas, Smallville Town. At the wedding, the Green Flash duo's pupils suddenly trembled when they heard that Bruce had a son. Bruce Wayne, the richest man in Gotham and a super playboy, actually had a son who looked to be 5 or 6 years old. If this were to be spread, countless gossip magazines would probably be so happy that they would have a cerebral hemorrhage. This matter would probably occupy the headlines for a long time, and countless supermodels would cry. Seeing that the flames of gossip in the eyes of the Green Flash duo were almost unable to be hidden, Bruce Wayne had to say, "I'll tell you when it's over." Even if the voices of these three people were very low, Jello could hear them. After learning that Batman had a son, Jello immediately thought of his name, Damian Wayne. The reason why this child appeared in the world was because his mother Talia al Ghul drugged Batman, and the dosage was so large that it worked immediately. Damian Wayne was born a few months later. But Damian didn't have a happy childhood. When other children were still learning to walk, this kid started to hold a knife, and when he was a little older, he could climb a snow mountain with his bare hands. Under the hellish education of the Assassin's League, Damian successfully acquired unparalleled skills. When he grew up, even Batman might not be his opponent in martial arts. But this also made Damian extremely irritable at the beginning, not good at interacting with others, and could be called a powder keg that would explode at any time. An irritable little brat. Thinking of this, Jello couldn't help but become interested. Jello was the best at educating bat boys. But now Damian looks only 5 or 6 years old, and it's still early for him to be Robin. But why has he come to Batman? Jello didn't know. When Jello was wondering whether this kid would fall into his hands because of committing a crime, Sam Lane also walked in front of Clark with Lois. The old general who had maintained his dignity for most of his life also showed a little warmth today. Take good care of her. Putting aside the work factor, old Sam still admired Jello Kent, a young man who was hard-working, honest, loyal. He could be said to be the best candidate. Now, he could only hand his daughter's hand to Clark. Without too many words, after the entrustment was completed, old Sam stepped down and handed the rest to the priest. The priest in the solemn robe was not a famous person, but he had known the Kent family for many years. He could be said to be someone who watched Clark grow up. He looked at Clark solemnly and asked, "Mr. Clark Kent, are you willing to marry the beautiful woman in front of you? Comfort her, protect her, cherish her, and treat her as a treasure. Whether she is sick or healthy, rich or poor, can you always treat her consistently forever?" "I do." Clark looked at Louise and said sincerely. After getting the groom's answer, the priest turned to Louise and asked, "Ms. Louise Lane, are you willing to marry this handsome man in front of you? Accompany him, believe in him, support him, and rely on him. Whether he is sick or healthy, rich or poor, can you always be with him until the end of his life?" "I do." Looking at the man she loves deeply, as the happiest woman today, Louise answered with her most serious voice. At this time, Louise's heartbeat was very fast, because after the oath, it was the kissing stage in front of all relatives and friends. Even though she had kissed countless times in private, when she was about to kiss her lover in front of all relatives and friends, Louise couldn't stop her heartbeat. Emptying her mind, the Pulitzer Prize winner who was a big shot in the news industry disappeared at this moment, and then the two hugged and kissed each other tightly, under the gaze of everyone. Looking at this scene in front of her, Donna leaned her head on Jello's shoulder, with a little envy in her pure black eyes. "That's great. I hope I can have such a day." Hearing this, even if Jello is really allergic to romance, he should understand what Donna meant. Jello gently put his hand on the back of Donna's hand. "There will be that day, no matter what, it will come." At this point, Jello's biggest worry is the enemies that will appear in the future, and he will not be able to protect the people around him from those enemies. Because he is not strong enough, Jello thinks that the root lies here. Even if he can stimulate all his potential and transform into Ultraman, he may not be able to deal with those strong people at the level of a single universe or even a multiverse. Jello also has feelings for Donna, but these feelings are not too obvious. Compared with the Amazons who are very direct in love, Jello's blank slate in love is still too immature. Donna, who knows that Jello is not perfunctory, smiles sweetly. With two big women as negative examples, she knows that love takes time, and she happens to have enough time to express her love to Jello. Donna thought that it was enough to know that Jello still had her in his heart. When the two young people were rubbing the spark of love, Selena Kyle, the Catwoman who was traveling with Bruce Wayne, showed a playful smile. She deliberately leaned close to Bruce's ear and teased him like a cat elf. Do we have to wait until the cat catches the mouse? Or do I have to catch the flying mouse? Selena, stop it. Bruce Wayne, who had dated several women at once, seemed a little embarrassed at this moment. He whispered to Selena, "My child, Onion, he is still watching. He is only 6 years old now. It's not good to see these. What's wrong? Isn't it just getting to know the stepmother in advance? What's the fuss?" When Selena thought of herself far ahead of Talia al Ghul, she was so happy that she wanted to laugh. As for Onion, who was still a flower boy, he looked at his old father with knotted wings with eyes that understood his father's essence. The wedding went smoothly, and no blind villain came to mess up. Clark and Lois exchanged rings, and their marriage was effective from then on. After that, there were dances, photos, cake cutting and other links. The most concerned link for several men was the bride throwing the bouquet. The ladies participated enthusiastically, and finally Starfire caught the bouquet. As for the men, everyone said that they didn't want Superman's sock ring, and they hid faster than each other. In the end, it was Barry Allen who caught the sock ring. Chapter Troublemaker, Earth North, Kansas, Smallville Town. It was night time. After a happy day, the guests left one by one, but some stayed. Sitting on the barn, Jello looked at Donna beside him and said, "How is it? The scenery here is pretty good, right? In the deep starry sky, countless stars lay in it, dazzling like beautiful gems." Looking up at the gorgeous starry sky, Donna smiled slightly and said, "It's really nice here. Did you come here often before?" "Yeah." Jello nodded gently. "Before I went to the metropolis, I would come here often. Anyway, I won't catch a cold from the wind. As long as the starry sky is beautiful, I will come here." Looking at Jello, who probably didn't know where to take her, Donna smiled even more. "In the future, bring me here often, okay?" "Okay." After saying that, Jello imitated the male protagonists in various love movies and TV shows, and pretended to say, I know what you want to say." Donna suddenly lay down on the barn, with her hands behind her head, and said to herself, "Actually, for us Amazons, love is a very direct thing. I have a good impression of you, but now, I want to know, what are your feelings for me?" Jello was a little speechless when Donna said this, and he answered after a while. "I'm actually quite simple. You and I are so close, and you are beautiful. As long as I still like women, it should be difficult for me not to be tempted, right? In other words, you were attracted by your beauty?" Donna joked, but she was also a little happy to hear Jello say that. After Donna said that, Jello felt a little embarrassed. He scratched his head awkwardly and said hesitantly, "That was the case at the beginning, but now I am more worried if I don't have enough power to protect you. So that's why you restrain your emotions," Donna said in a slightly depressed mood. Jello did not refute, but just nodded gently, "Yeah." The moonlight fell between the two of them, covering them with a curtain. Donna sat up and looked at Jello with her pure black eyes. At this time, there was only Jello's shadow in her eyes. She said in a slightly pleading tone, "Then now, we don't have to care about other things, okay?" "Okay." Jello's voice just fell, and Donna, who took the initiative, immediately pounced on him. Under the moonlight, the two embraced and kissed each other, tightly entangled with each other, and the two lonely souls blended at this moment. The elderly Kent couple had already gone to bed, and the newlyweds were busy making babies, and no one disturbed them at this time. After a long time, their lips parted. The two looked at each other with blurred eyes, whispering each other's names. At this time, a breeze blew, which calmed Jello down a lot. He was a little overwhelmed as he had never experienced such a scene before, and even asked Donna, "So we're in a relationship now?" Donna laughed at Jello. "As long as you can accept my feelings, then we are." "I understand." Jello replied softly. It seems that tonight is not only Clark and Louise's wedding night, but also a night for Jello and Donna to rub out the sparks of love. But, noticing the appearance of this energy fluctuation, Jello immediately raised his head and looked at the sky. Above the night sky full of formations, a round golden portal suddenly appeared. Gold portal. Jello immediately thought of the Absolute clan, which is very similar to the Ultraman clan. Why is the energy fluctuation of the portal so similar to yours, Jello? What's going on? Although she didn't know what the Absolute tribe was, Donna could feel that the golden portal was emitting an energy fluctuation that was very similar to Jello's. It might be an enemy. Wait a moment. I'll be back soon. Jello quickly entered combat mode. He had changed into a black and blue combat uniform. The ticket armor and Dyna armor were also ready to go. Then he flew into the sky. Looking at Jello flying into the sky, Donna felt a little resentful in her heart, but the target was the idiot who opened the portal and disturbed her plans tonight. Damn it, I was about to hit a home run just now, damn it. When Jello flew into the sky and stood in front of the portal, a figure slowly walked out of the portal. The man was wearing a white tuxedo, with golden hair fluttering in the wind, and his face looked exactly like mine. Is this my alter ego? Realizing the other party's origins instantly, Jello, who didn't want to fight today, asked tentatively, "Identical, what is your purpose in coming to my universe?" "Don't be so nervous." Jello waved his hands repeatedly, indicating that Jello didn't need to be so nervous. Then he put his left hand behind his back, opened his right hand, and bowed while closing his right hand in front of his chest. After doing this, he slowly said, "Just call me Jello. As for who I am, you should also know. You should even be able to guess what kind of concept fragments I have." Listening to what this guy who called himself Jello said, Jello felt that he knew a lot of things. Not only did he have the ability to travel through parallel universes at will, he also knew concept fragments. Looking at the identical person in front of him who was most likely to have the power of the Absolute clan, Jello frowned and asked, "So, you came to me, is there something?" "No big deal." Jello continued to maintain his elegance. "I just want to ask you for a small favor. You tell me, I'll see if I can help you," Jello said straightforwardly. "Ha ha ha, you're indeed the subject, you are always humorous." Jello smiled, then stretched out his palm and said to Jello, "People from Earth 3 are going to invade your Earth Naught. I hope you can start making some preparations. If you have the ability to predict the future, you should know that the existence of parallel universes is not unfamiliar to me, right?" Jello was very confused. The other party looked more like a time traveler than him, but why did he do such a meaningless thing? Hearing this, Jello spread his hands and replied, "Because, this is fate, the destiny I must experience. That's all I have to say. As for whether you believe it or not, that's your business. Goodbye, subject." After saying that, Jello disappeared in front of Jello, leaving Jello, who was frowning, hanging in the air and blowing the wind. How can this guy know so much? His absolute ability is too powerful in predicting the future, isn't it? Jello thought as he returned to the ground. Lead to myself, Earth Naught, Kansas, Smallville town. After the homolog who called himself Jello disappeared in front of him, Jello slowly returned to the ground. Standing in the rice field, Jello looked up at the place where Jello disappeared, unable to come back to his senses for a long time. Jello simply could not understand what this person who called himself Jello did. Jello could not see the other party's motives and plans at all. Even if they did not fight, Jello could feel the terrifying power hidden in Jello's body. I'm afraid that it is comparable to his own power, or even stronger. According to Jello's understanding, the Absolute family has the potential that is no less than that of the Ultraman family. The Absolute particles unique to their race also have the effect of enhancing Ultraman. Faced with the homolog whose motives are a mystery, Jello really can't grasp it. At this time, Donna also rushed to Jello and asked, "Jello, who was that person just now?" "One of my isotopes," Jello answered truthfully. He withdrew his gaze from the sky and turned to look at Donna, saying, "A very troublesome opponent." "Isotope?" Donna frowned. "Simply put, it is an individual light from a parallel universe, similar to me but different," Jello whispered. Jello knew that Earth 3 would invade Earth Naught, but why did this guy named Jello do this? From the looks of him, he might also know that Jello is a time traveler. Just as Jello was thinking, two voices sounded behind Jello and Donna at the same time. "We need to talk." Hearing this, Jello followed the voice and saw Batman and Superman in combat uniforms appearing behind Jello. Looking at Jello, who was somewhat confused, Superman said, "Don't worry, Jello, I just want to know something. Some things that the League doesn't know yet." Batman added, It seems that Jello's arrival could not be hidden from Superman and Batman. Jello even speculated that the other party wanted to force Superman and Batman to appear. Facing the two, Jello spread his hands and said, "I think you know a lot of things, so I will start from why I know about the parallel universe. The reason is that I found an island during an aircraft experiment and found traces of magic on it. I went to the island to find out. On that island, I met a woman who called herself Pandora. She asked me to help her find you, brother." "Looking for me? What does she want to do?" Superman said, puzzled. "You should all know the legend of Pandora's box. Pandora opened the box and released the sins sent by the gods. She wanted the most virtuous person to close the box and take back the sins." Jello replied. Pandora's box is a household name in Europe and the United States. Even young Master Wayne has heard some of it, but from Jello's tone, the truth of the story does not seem to be so. "Go on," Batman said. "The follow-up is that I refused Pandora because I didn't believe that recycling sins would make humans better. I enlightened her and took the magic box. In the magic box, I found technology from another universe, and used this as an opportunity to discover Earth 3. As he spoke, Jello raised his left hand and tapped the broken watch with his right index finger, indicating that the magic box was inside. The bodies of the 5 emperors and the battle instrument were also in the hands of the Justice League. They must know something, so Jello didn't hide it from the two of you and said directly. So I suspect that Earth 3 is going to invade Earth Naught. They have even sent out advanced teams, such as the 5 people I killed in Kotama. And this lady, right?" Hearing this, Batman took out a transparent capsule from his tactical belt. There was a woman in the capsule. The woman was wearing a red and blue tights, and there was an atomic mark on her forehead. "Atom Girl." She fell into Batman's hands. Jello looked at the Atom Girl in Batman's hand in disbelief. Atom, in the original timeline, was a double agent of the crime syndicate in the Eye of Heaven on Earth 3. She could even steal kryptonite and was a top traitor who nearly broke the Justice League. But now she has fallen into Batman's hands. It seems that this time, the invasion of Earth 3 will have a different outcome. But Atom has other teammates. How did Batman hide it from them? Jello's speculation was not groundless, because at this moment, in Batman's cave, Alfred was pretending to be Atom and reporting the progress of the mission to the outsiders of Earth 3. "This lady told me a lot of things." Batman shook the transparent capsule. He didn't know what technology he used to keep Atom alive, but Atom looked very bad. With the help of super hearing, Jello also heard the faint voice of Atom. "Let me go, please." He could actually torture a top traitor like this. Seeing this, Jello felt that he had underestimated Batman's interrogation methods before. It's too scary. Batman must have used all kinds of means to torture a living person like this, and he still spared Atom's life. Seeing this, Donna also said, "That means we will soon face evil enemies from parallel universes." That's right. Jello swept his eyes over the 3 people present. The enemies will all be evil versions of themselves, a Batman who has no bottom line and will kill people, a Superman who is extremely cruel and may not be afraid of kryptonite, and a very evil me. Taking this opportunity, Jello revealed some information about the enemies on Earth 3. Night Owl and Speedster can be said to be the main forces in the battle. Super Queen is not as good as Wonder Woman in frontal combat, the Ring of Power is not as good as Hal Jordan without Deathstorm, and Johnny Quick is not as good as Barry Allen. Aquaman. That rubbish is not even half as powerful as Aquaman. In the original timeline, this group of guys can be said to have taken advantage of everything. With the Justice League not knowing the information about Earth 3, they beat the Justice League to a first kill. She's already told me. Batman said calmly, "The Kryptonians on Earth 3 become stronger by absorbing kryptonite. Click, I think you'd better make some preparations. I will be fully prepared for the remaining enemies." "I understand." Superman nodded, indicating that he would pay attention. Looking at Batman who had already started to prepare a response plan, Jello silently made a cross for the crime syndicate in his heart. Suddenly, Superman said to Jello again, "By the way, Jello, can you help me take care of Metropolis? I'm going to spend my honeymoon with Lois." "Okay, no problem." Jello agreed immediately. Red Volcano, Earth Naught, Kansas, Smallville Town. After exchanging some information, Batman and Superman left. Batman probably returned to Gotham. As for Superman, Jello looked at his direction and it seemed that he was going to the North Pole, probably to the Fortress of Solitude. As for what Superman was going to do, Jello didn't ask much, he just watched Superman leave. After the two left, Donna asked Jello, "Jello, do you think you can win? You have to be able to win even if you can't." Jello said firmly, "Among all the known information, the Emperor of Earth 3 has the least information. Jello only knows that the other party has the power of Robrando, can mass-produce the magic version of the battle instrument, build an army of monsters, and help him achieve his career. But a person can hold multiple concept fragments at the same time. In the environment of the survival of the fittest on Earth 3, if you want to gain powerful power in a short period of time, then holding multiple concept fragments is an option. But such a choice has a terrible price, especially the conflicts between concept fragments with low adaptability. The power of multiple conflicting concept fragments is mixed together. At the least, it is impossible to win to the second stage, and at the worst, it is impossible to lose oneself on the spot and fall into an endless rampage. What Zero possesses are the concept fragments of most of Ultraman's core power. There is no conflict between them. Even the chaos virus that was added later is essentially an artificial life form. The conflict problem also disappeared when Zero entered the second stage. After getting this answer, Donna smiled slightly and said with relief, "You are worthy at being the man I like." Hearing this, Zero's face turned red. He was about to answer when he felt a strange fluctuation. Boom, 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 boom. It was an extremely strong heartbeat sound. When it fell into Zero's ears, it was much heavier than the sound of war drums. No, it was not just a heartbeat. Zero even felt that the earth was shaking. Who is it? Zero's eyes condensed, and he instantly entered a combat state. His extremely powerful telekinesis followed the direction of the vibration. After some positioning, Zero found that the source of the vibration was the Yellowstone volcano in Wyoming, and there, he also found several familiar feelings. Nightwing, Starfire, Wally, Megan, Raven, Kale, the members of the Titans team are fighting there, and their enemy seems to be a red robot, which can also manipulate magma. The Titans team is also in a difficult battle against this enemy. It seems that our friends are in danger. Jello said to Donna, who smiled and replied, "Then let's go help them now." Then, the two rushed to the Yellowstone volcano together. At this moment, Superman has arrived at the Fortress of Solitude in the Arctic. He sat on a chair, and the energy like the sun was constantly gathering and gradually condensing on his right arm. As the energy continued to gather on his right arm, Superman's body looked thinner. Jor-El's phantom appeared beside Superman and said to him, "Carl, are you really going to do this?" Superman, who was still transferring energy to his right arm, smiled and replied to his biological father, "Yes, Dad, I want to leave a gift for Jero." "That gift is too heavy." Jor-El said worriedly, "You have to transfer almost all your energy to your arm. If he replaces this arm, I'm afraid you will have the same power as you." "That's perfect." Superman interrupted Jor-El's speech and then said to his biological father, "Let me tell you this, Dad, I always have nightmares recently. In my dreams, I will become a monster. I will kill Bruce, I will kill Lois, I will kill everyone. It's just a dream, it doesn't explain everything." Jor-El retorted, "I can't bear it. If the day really comes, no one can stop me from becoming a monster, not even Bruce. Only an extremely powerful force can stop me." Superman said with relief. "That child's potential is really good." Jor-El said affirmatively. As soon as Jor-El finished speaking, Superman completed the energy transfer, and then separated his right arm from his body with willpower. After doing this, Superman was a little weak. Jor-El created a simulated sun in time to replenish Superman's energy. With the replenishment of energy, Superman's right arm began to slowly recover. Looking at his only son, Jor-El also said, "What if your brother doesn't need a right arm? I believe he will find a way." The slightly weak Superman replied. In a place where Superman couldn't see, Dr. Manhattan was quietly observing Superman. Choosing a brother of unknown origin as a precaution. It's really a human choice. I'm curious about what you'll choose next, Superman. Because of some reasons, Dr. Manhattan couldn't directly interfere or eliminate Zero, but he could interfere with others. For example, Pandora, for example, Superman who had nightmares recently. Looking back at the EF, in the Yellowstone supervolcano group, the Titan team without Zero and Donna was dealing with a red robot. This robot is extremely powerful, with hard output comparable to that of first-line superpowers, and has a unique technology for controlling heat energy. In battle, it imitates the superpowers of Starfire, becoming even more difficult to deal with. After jumping back hard, he landed on a hot stone. Calder, who was not used to the high-temperature environment, couldn't even cast water magic. He said to others with sweat on his forehead, "We may need to call the Justice League." After Jello and Donna temporarily left the team, the Titans also continued to carry out their missions. Recently, they received a mission to investigate a strange scientist named Professor Tomorrow. And after Superman's wedding, they found the location of Professor Tomorrow, Yellowstone Volcano, but when the Titans arrived, Professor Tomorrow had already completed his masterpiece, the Red Volcano. The Red Volcano is so powerful that it can even suppress the Titans head-on. Calder, "I have seen someone who is better than the Justice League." In the team channel, Wally suddenly said mysteriously. "What?" The next moment, two streams of light streaked across the sky, and then everyone, including the members of the Titans, saw a large amount of ice fog falling. Zero was using Ultra Freeze to forcefully cool down the Yellowstone Volcano, temporarily calming down the Yellowstone Volcano that was rioting because of the Red Volcano. Wearing the airtight Tiger armor, Zero, who was suspended in the air, even said hello to his old friends. "Long time no see, guys." At this time, the Red Volcano, which had a certain degree of artificial intelligence, also noticed Zero's arrival. He looked at Zero and asked, "Who are you?" "Just an Ultraman passing by." Zero, who liked to be asked about this, quickly replied. Titan vs. Ultraman Barcone, Earth North Yellowstone Volcano. Looking at the Red Volcano in front of him, Zero immediately turned on the scanning system of the Tiger armor. Maybe the Red Volcano has its own advantages, but in front of Zero, it seems a little insufficient. After a scan, Zero found two familiar smells on the Red Volcano. Amorzo technology actually appeared on this robot. It seems that Professor Tomorrow is inseparable from the Illuminati, and I also feel the fluctuation of the concept fragment, which should be a monster fragment that can manipulate magma. Facing Zero, the Red Volcano felt that every screw of his was insecure. Far away from the Yellowstone Volcano, Professor Tomorrow was monitoring the real-time situation of the Red Volcano. "Why is the tricky guy here?" Professor Tomorrow slapped his forehead and said irritably, "Red Volcano is not this guy's opponent, he has to leave quickly." "Wait, what is this fluctuation?" Just when Professor Tomorrow wanted Red Volcano to leave, his instrument captured another fluctuation. As a scientist of the same period as Professor Avia, Professor Tomorrow has traveled to many places, such as the Bermuda Triangle. The legendary Bermuda Triangle is full of mysteries. The young Professor Tomorrow also captured the fluctuations of different time and space there. Although it was only once and could not be proved by data, Professor Tomorrow remembered it deeply. And now, Professor Tomorrow saw this kind of fluctuation again. What's going on? Professor Tomorrow felt his heartbeat speeding up. The next moment, three figures, one silver, one white and one blue, appeared on the Yellowstone Volcano. "Let me meet you, Ultraman." With a loud shout, a silver giant fist attacked Zero. Seeing this, Zero quickly switched to the powerful type and collided with the silver giant fist with the Dilahume Bombot. Boom! Like the sound of a missile exploding, Nightwine, who was weaker in physique, and Calder, who was weakened in stamina, were almost blown away by the shock wave. "Bargone, your behavior is too impulsive." The white figure stood beside the Red Volcano and said to Bargone, who was still fighting with Zero. Bargone, who was fighting with Zero, didn't care about these. His eyes were bloodshot and he roared. "This kind of battle is meaningful, Latron. Anyway, they know our existence now, so there is no need to continue pretending. Let these low-level lives see the power of the great beast general." As Bargone roared, his strength continued to increase, and even a crack appeared on the surface of the Dilasium Bombardier. The Dilasium Bombardier is very hard. If you want to destroy it with physical force, you may need a terrifying force of 1 million mechanical horsepower. This crazy guy in front of you has a fist force of 1 million horsepower. Thinking of this, a silver figure instantly appeared in Jello's mind. Yes, only the fragments of the terrifying monsters known for their strange power can allow the user to obtain this level of terrifying power. The next moment, Jello immediately lifted the restrictions of the Dilasium Bombardier, and the surging arc passed across the surface of the gloves, instantly increasing the output of the Dilasium Bombardier to 200%. Boom! There was another loud noise, and Bargone, whose left hand had turned into a giant silver arm, was repelled by Jello. After falling to the ground, he slid for a distance before stopping. Although he was repelled, the enthusiasm in Bargone's eyes did not diminish. It seemed that he was another madman born for fighting. Seeing Bargone being repelled, Latron's arms also changed. He stepped forward and said to the blue figure beside him, Go and take that concept fragment, otherwise you, Lakes, will be the weakest beast demon general for the rest of your life. Understood, Lord Lakes? The man named Lakes responded, and then flashed behind the red volcano, wanting to do something. Not good, we can't let them succeed. Wally realized that something was wrong, and instantly entered the super speed state, turning into a flash of lightning and rushing towards the enemy, but before stopping Lakes, he needed to get past Latron. You're thinking too much, Speedster. Latron's eyes turned scarlet, and layers of armor gradually covered him. As his body became more and more mechanized, Latron's brain computing power could even calculate Wally's route. Right there. A golden lightsaber condensed on Latron's left arm, blocking the route that Wally would definitely take. Wally, who had not mastered the speed force yet, could not stop at all and was about to hit Latron's lightsaber. Seeing this, Jello first used telekinesis to repel Bargone, then used instant teleportation to come to Latron's side, and punched Latron's left arm with a heavy punch, forcing Latron's lightsaber to stagger with Wally. After running to a safe place, Wally, who had survived the disaster, sweat dripped from his forehead and said, "It was a close call. If it weren't for the boss just now, you were too reckless." After slightly scolding Wally, Jello focused his attention on the battle between the red volcano and Rugus. Seeing that Lakes would spit out cold air, Zero realized that he was the holder of the concept fragment of Lagra, and the red volcano was likely implanted with the concept fragment of Gillanan. The other party came for the purpose of obtaining the power of evolving Lagra. It's not over yet. Hurry up and take out the red armor you just used. At this time, Bargone rushed up again with a roar. Fortunately, Donna held two swords to block Bargone for Zero. Donna was surrounded by black mist, and the chilling black and red spells were entangled in it. She gritted her silver teeth and growled, "Stay away from my man." Another one? Not bad, some fighting is enough. Bargone's eyes were shining, and he seemed to be extremely obsessed with fighting. As Bargone and Donna were fighting fiercely, Latron had to face Zero. He pointed his left arm sword at Zero and said coldly, "See the power of the beast demon general, Ultraman." "That's what I meant." Zero changed back to the composite form, and the divine light sword also appeared in his hand, and the sharp sword pierced Latron's eyes. "I'll leave the red robot and the other enemy to you," Zero said to the rest of the Titans when confronting Latron. Afterwards, the rest of the Titans attacked the red volcano and Rugus. Latron immediately turned his right arm into a wireless floating cannon and tried to fire a beam at the Titans. However, before the beam cannon could fire, Zero concentrated energy on the divine light sword, turning it into a sword energy that blocked Latron's beam cannon. "You'll have to get through me first, this guest from the parallel universe." Latron did not answer, but silently entered a fighting stance. The mechanical parts behind his head, like a tail, separated one by one. A golden lightsaber condensed on his left arm, and red rays condensed on his eyes and chest. Chapter Shazam, Earth North Yellowstone Volcano. For the fragment of the concept of Grunnan implanted in the red volcano, the Titans and the beast demons will fight. In front of Zero, Latron's eyes and chest flashed red. Knowing what the enemy was doing, Zero quickly condensed an ultra barrier in front of him. The next moment, accompanied by the sound of holy chanting, several red beams broke through the air. The eyes quickly captured these red beams, and the brain also calculated the best choice at the first time. Then, Zero's figure turned into a flying swallow, dodging in the red beams. Wherever the red beam hits, a small magic circle will appear, followed by a violent explosion. This move is called a Latron Spark, which is extremely destructive and even has a certain degree of decomposition ability. It is equivalent to ignoring defense and hitting real damage. If it is not a special situation, Zero will not take it hard. Latron fired the Latron Sparks to force Zero to move while quickly approaching Zero. After the smoke produced by dozens of artillery bombardments dissipated, there was only a small place to stand at Zero's feet. Now. Seeing this, Latron quickly stepped forward, with a wireless floating gun on his right arm and a golden beam blade on his left arm, and a mechanical tail on his head, attacking Zero from 3 directions at the same time. The next moment, Zero's figure was pierced by 3 attacks, but Latron felt something was wrong. Because Zero's figure became illusory at this time. Illusion. Latron realized that something was wrong and wanted to readjust his posture to fight back, but it was too late. Swoosh, a slight sword sounded in the air, and a silver white sword light appeared at Latron's waist, and the thick white armor even rubbed out sparks. In the end, it was the thick white armor that saved Latron's life, giving Latron enough time to adjust his strength to fight back against Zero. Latrum turned his head, staring at Zero with scarlet eyes, and the Galatrum spark was ready to go. Zero, who was not prepared to use his helmet and head to block it, withdrew his sword and quickly retreated. The Galatrum spark finally landed at Zero's feet, causing another explosion. Just as Zero was about to attack again, two black rays with white coverage and extremely fast speed fell from the sky. Realizing the terrifying power of the black rays, Zero immediately used teleportation to dodge, but even so, part of Tagazama was still hit by the black rays and was decomposed on the spot. Resolim Ray. Realizing that this was the unique skill of the Empire aliens, Zero knew that the opponent should not be underestimated. However, before he saw the enemy, several space cracks opened. One of the space cracks directly extended a crescent stick, piercing the red volcano, and then dragged the red volcano into the space crack. Lakes also jumped into the space crack without any intention of fighting. Seeing this, Latron also said to Bargone, who was fighting fanatically, "Bargone, don't fight them. The king asked us to retreat." The signal in the plan appeared, and Latron no longer lingered in that battle and let Bargone quickly leave the battle. "See you later, everyone." Bargone grinned, and a space crack appeared under his feet, and Latron also entered the nearest space crack at the fastest speed. Just as Zero was about to chase, the Resolim Ray appeared again, interrupting his action and forcing him to retreat. The Resolim Ray is a powerful weapon for Ultraman, which can decompose Ultraman's body and cause great damage to Ultraman like Zero. If the enemy's output power is large enough, Zero can even be killed in one blow. The enemy has left, and the Titan team left the Yellowstone volcano. Before leaving, they also reduced the pressure of the Yellowstone volcano to minimize the impact of the red volcano. Running to the nearby forest, the Titan team began the post-war communication. "It feels good to have you, boss." Wally pounced directly on Zero. Looking at Zero, who changed the situation between the two universes, Nightwine sighed, stroked his forehead, and said helplessly, "Who did you learn this habit of not telling anyone before implementing the plan from?" After taking off the armor and pushing Wally away, Zero smiled mysteriously and said, "Guess. I guess. You have the nerve to say it." Nightwine was so angry that his eyes turned white, and then he turned back and said, "Next time there is a situation, remember to tell us, okay?" "Understood," Zero replied. Although Zero said so, Nightwine felt that this guy didn't listen at all. "Forget it." Nightwine waved his hand, and then stretched out his right hand to Zero. "No matter what, Titan welcomes you back at any time. Just waiting for you to say this." Zero smiled, then looked at Raven, and said to Raven alone, "Raven, I need your help with something." "What can I help with?" Hearing this, Raven immediately remembered the existence of Euclian. As the highest concept fragment user in the current development stage, Raven has a very unique ability to shape people. At present, the DC universe is not very welcoming to Ultraman. If Zero wants to mobilize people, in addition to himself as an anchor, he also needs the help of Raven's Euclian power, so that he can mobilize people to the greatest extent. "Come, listen to me carefully." While speaking, Zero opened a mental channel for himself and Raven alone, and told Raven everything he was going to do. After remembering Zero's instructions, Raven nodded and replied, "I understand, Brother Zero." "That's good." Zero smiled slightly, which made the people around him confused. Looking back at the other teammates, Zero said mysteriously, "You'll know what I ask Raven to do when the time comes." Seeing Zero turned around and started to act mysterious, Nightwine immediately felt that his words were in vain. However, as a teammate, Nightwine was still willing to believe that Zero would not do bad things. In this way, the reunited Titan team set out on the road back to Happy Harbor. At the same time, Kandak, a small country located between Israel and Egypt, has not been well known since ancient times. Few people know that this inconspicuous country once had a glorious past. But now, Kandak is like other countries that are used as pawns by big countries, and is kicked around like a ball. People of all kinds travel on this land. Some of them regard Kandak as their own tribe, and some regard it as a toy. Some people also regard it as an archaeological sanctuary. For example, Dr. Shivana, a doctor who has long been famous in the archaeological community, is studying day and night in an ancient tomb in Kandak, hoping to make a major discovery. "Finally I found it." Shivana looked at the door in front of him like a madman, and then read out the words on it with what he had learned throughout his life. Shazam! The next moment, thunder fell from the sky, and the target was the door in front of Dr. Shivana. Black Atom, Earth North Kandak boom, a huge thunderbolt descended from nowhere. Strangely, this lightning actually penetrated the surface of the earth, came to the inside of the ancient tomb, and hit the door of the ancient tomb. Dr. Shivana, the initiate, was watching everything in front of him with great excitement. Because of an experience in his childhood, Dr. Shivana developed a great interest in mysticism. After adulthood, he also devoted himself to the embrace of archaeology and traveled around the world, hoping to obtain mysterious power from various ancient tombs. After working hard for half a lifetime, Dr. Shivana finally found the existence of Black Adam in an ancient book, and finally went to Kandak to dig out this power. Perhaps it was destined that Dr. Shivana really found the location of Black Adam, and when he read the magical word, a powerful magic messenger would appear in the world again. Shu's endurance, Horus's speed, Amon's strength, Zehuti's wisdom, Aton's power, Mihin's courage, the power of the gods together, created a powerful magic warrior. He came with the storm, bringing thunder punishment to his enemies with revengeful anger. His name buried in the vast history is Black Adam. Shazam! After a deep and powerful roar came from the ancient tomb, cracks with arcs appeared on the door, and the next moment, the door of the ancient tomb exploded. In the face of this dangerous situation, other archaeologists had already run away, but Dr. Shivana still stood there in a daze, and was hit by a blue arc in one of his eyes. But even so, Dr. Shivana still stood firm with his remaining eye to witness the heroic figure. He was wearing a black and gold robe, tall and magnificent like an iron tower, and the lightning logo on his chest was shining, as if it had magic to shock people. Yes, you are the legendary existence in Kandak, Black Adam. Dr. Shivana shouted like a madman. However, Black Adam, who had just been freed from the seal, didn't understand. Before this, Black Adam was sealed by his predecessor Shazam for thousands of years. During these thousands of years, he was imprisoned in a dark ancient tomb, and his mentality has changed drastically. If it were in the past, Black Adam might have killed Dr. Shivana casually, but now he would not do so. He also wanted to know from this crazy old man what the world has become, and why he was called a legendary existence. Black Adam said arrogantly, "Tell me everything you know, mortal." Then, Dr. Shivana told Black Adam everything he knew. Although these words were a little incoherent in Black Adam's ears, he had the wisdom of Thoth. Soon, Black Adam's mind appeared in the world as it is now. A world full of high-rise buildings, humans can use the power called technology to go to the sky and into the earth, can fight wars with many casualties, and there are superheroes with power comparable to gods flying in the sky, and from time to time there are aliens invading. This world has become something Black Adam cannot understand, and his country Kandak has become a chess piece in the hands of a big country, and its residents live a very reluctant life. Just like thousands of years ago, Black Adam thought so. Thinking of this, Black Adam looked up at the sky, and the hood on his head slipped off, revealing his true face. I didn't expect that after thousands of years, Kandak still hasn't gotten rid of his identity as a slave. Black Adam was happy to reign in Kandak again and get Kandak out of this predicament, but before he reigned in Kandak, he still had one thing he wanted to do. Wizard. Black Adam remembered the wizard who sealed him back then. He had to avenge the hatred of being trapped for thousands of years. In his perception, the old wizard of the year had dissipated, but Black Adam clearly felt that he still had an heir. Yes, the old wizard found an heir for himself. The heir was even a child, younger than his former nephew, and more stupid. Black Adam could clearly see that the child was using the power of the 6 gods to save a pet cat that climbed to the top of the tree. This really insulted Shazam's power. For a moment, Black Adam didn't know whether he should laugh at the old wizard's lack of successes or kill the stupid kid and leave him with an unforgettable memory. But revenge must be taken. Black Adam doesn't think he is a good person. Since the old wizard has sealed him for thousands of years, the old guy should understand that he will take revenge on his successor. Then, Black Adam broke through the rocks above and flew into the sky, leaving Dr. Shivana alone in the tomb. After Black Adam left for a while, Dr. Shivana opened his eyes that were struck by magic lightning. At this moment, Dr. Shivana felt that the world was already a different look. For the first time, he felt that what he had learned in his life could not be used to describe the beautiful world in his eyes. Is this the power of magic? Dr. Shivana looked around excitedly, and his old body was as comfortable as when he was young. At this time, a figure walked out of the darkness and applauded Dr. Shivana, who had gained magic power. After a few rounds of applause, the man said to Dr. Shivana, "Doctor, you are now qualified to join the Illuminati. I hope you can accept my invitation." "Excuse me. Who are you?" Dr. Shivana looked at the man in front of him in confusion. You can call me Vandal Savage. Now, I invite Dr. Thatboy Schiffner to join the Illuminati and work together for the great cause of human evolution. Vandal Savage said in a persuasive manner. On listening to Vandal Savage's words, Dr. Schiffner was very moved. He didn't insist for too long and agreed. I'm willing to join. A wise choice, Dr. Schiffner. In front of Dr. Schiffner, Vandal Savage smiled slightly. As for the successor of the old wizard, Vandal Savage said that he didn't want to care. Those wizards who claimed to be gods once gave Vandal Savage a headache. At the same time, in the lighthouse country across the ocean, Billy Batson suddenly felt a chill, as if something extremely terrifying was coming to find him. However, Billy Batson did not take this to heart, because he believed that Shazam's power could wipe out everything, and no bad guy could defeat Shazam's lightning. So, Billy Batson hummed a little song and returned to his foster family, but he didn't know that a terrifying strong man with much more experience and strength than him had already set his sights on him. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novel, as there you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.